Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Game changer, game changer, game changer, game changer. The Game Changer Radio Network.
Recruiting all of our insiders towards Jimmy Church.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Oh yeah, it's Fade to Black. How you doing? Yeah, let's go. Fade to Black. The Wednesday edition. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, April 15th, 105 days into the new year, 260 days left. That's right, we are live from the City of Angels Studios right here in downtown Burbank, California. COA Vapor, makers of Fade to Black e-juice. That's right, Fader Loops. Just go to the COA banner at www.jimmychurchradio.com. You can use the promo code Jimmy. Get yourself some free shipping. Welcome for KJCR and the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. Welcome. Welcome, everybody listening all around the world, all across this great country of ours, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, east and west, north and south, up and down, far and near. This is Fade to Black, and tonight we have actor Dean Haglund, that's right, of the X-Files, one of the Lone Gunmen, a real Lone Gunmen, right here on Fade to Black. Going to be taking your calls too. The number's 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14, and that is the number 14. Don't forget, tomorrow night is Fader night, everybody. Taking your calls all night long. Favorite night of the week. Well, besides tonight, because tonight is the now. You know, we're in the now. So tonight is the night. But tomorrow night is Fader night. All right. Big, proud salute to the men and women in uniform all around the world, fighting the good fight for us. For without them, there is no me, there is no you, there is no us, and there is no X-Files Part 2. Think about that for a second. All right. Hey, did you see that pic I tweeted out? Walked into the studio, and I was like, man, you know, it looks pretty good tonight. I don't know why. It just kind of looks right. Got the little can of Pellegrino orange. Got the coffee cup full. And I just kind of looked, and I thought, man, you know what? That's a nice little office. I got to share that with everybody. So I just popped off a quick little pic on Twitter. And that's my office, and that's where I sit down, and that's where I'm at right now. That pic was literally taken 5 minutes ago. And if you look real close, you could probably see, you know, tweet deck on one of the screens and see the script on another, and recording software running, and you know, Shoutcast streaming. If you looked really close, you could probably even see my email. How cool is that? Well, anyway, that's what that pic is. Literally just took that a few minutes ago. All right. Let's get the show cracking, man. I'm pretty excited. Dean Haglund on tonight. And I was looking at the pictures of him and Garth. And it is Garth, right? That's Garth. Is Garth the blonde? Anyway, I wonder how much grief he got about that. Or was it intentional? because it's a little too on the money, isn't it? Anyway, Dean Haglund on with us tonight. Very, very funny guy, very smart guy. And he also has a great podcast, Chill Pack Hollywood. You should check out, too, as well. And I think their website, it's got a bunch of hyphens in it, but if you go to, it's The Truth Is Out There with a hyphen in between each word.com. And the links are at jimmychurchradio.com. Click on it, and you can go there and check it out. And then I think there's also deanhaglund.com. You can go there, too, as well. And he lives right here in Los Angeles, and we were talking earlier today. It's like, dude, you're right downtown. Why didn't we? He was like, man, we should be doing this in studio. Yes. Next time, he promised he will come in. And he broadcasts from downtown L.A. and lives right there in the theater district. And we'll talk to him about that, too, as well. We've got so much to talk to Dean about, and there's so much mystery behind the X-Files. And we got one of the cats on tonight. And I'm going right there. So there you go. All right. Where are we? Let's look. I got tons of email today. Yes, I saw it. I saw Facebook. I saw Twitter. I saw all of that about the about Mark's email. And yes, Mark's email will get read. And I promise. And I got another really cool Facebook post as well that went down last night during the show. And one of he spells his name backwards. And that's all I'm going to say. His name's Leonard. But anyway, friend of the show for a long time. And he had a sighting last night during the show. And he called in after as we were winding down last night during the credits, and boom, I see this number, but that's it. The show was over, and it turned out it was him in a panic, and he had called a few minutes before, maybe 20 minutes before, but he was backed up in a long line of calls, and we were in the middle of it last night with Joshua, and I didn't, it was just one of those things. And then he called during the credits. I didn't know. I read the email today. Now I know why he was in a panic. I will get to that, too, as well. All right? So, with that, let's get the show cracking. Don't forget, two big events this week. Number one, Friday night, Hangar 1, Season 2, Episode 2 is coming up. So, don't miss that. That's Friday night. And then Saturday, I will be hosting the 2015 Conscious Life Unsolved Mysteries Seminar. That's this Saturday, April 18th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the LAX Hilton. And if you live in LA, if you are in the area, you're going to be visiting, you're going to do your thing, whatever, come and see us at the LAX Hilton. All of you Fadernauts, come and see us. Mike Barra, Barbara Lamb, a true legend in ufology. Barbara Lamb's going to be there. Douglas Taylor. Doug is a very, very, very smart guy. Also a pretty talented artist, too, as well, painter. He and Dana Dunn. So please come check us out, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then after that, let's all go hang out at the Hilton Bar downstairs. A great place to hang out. They have tables that light up. They're really cool. All right. So that's it for now. Let's get the show cracking. Are you ready? Today, Seth Rogen is 33 years old. Man, that's a mountain of success, isn't it? Before the age of 33 to do what he has done. Man, oh man. Funny guy, too. I like Seth. He's all right. A little predictable now, but still funny. He does this thing. You hire Seth to be Seth, right? 33 years old today. Also, one of the true greats in guitardom, a guy that can spank the plank. Guitarist Roy Clark is 82 years old. I think at one time they called him like the fastest guitar player in the world. Remember that? And he was, man. I'm sure he's still shredding at 82. Roy Clark, hee-haw. All right, happy birthday, Roy. Also today, here's one for you, all of you 80s kids. Huh? Samantha Fox is 49 years old. Had those 80s hits, remember? Remember that hit, Touch Me? I Want Your Body. Remember that? Remember Do Ya, Wanna Please Me? Samantha Fox. That's right. She dated Paul Stanley. I think that was her claim to fame. The songs are good. Can't deny her that. Samantha Fox, 49 years old today. Please, nobody, don't start tweeting Samantha Fox pictures because this is a kid's show, too. We don't need to go there. Also today, Black Keys drummer. That's right, Pat Carney, 35 years old. And that dude is uber talented. That whole band is good. Our dead guys' birthdays today are singer Bessie Smith. 1894 to 1937, died at the age of 43. Quite possibly one of, if not, well, just check this out. She was a major influence on jazz, period. Nicknamed the Empress of the Blues. She was the most popular female blues singer of the 1920s and 30s, and is often regarded as one of the greatest singers of all time. That's right, Bessie Smith. On September 26, 1937, she was critically injured in a car accident while traveling along U.S. Route 61 between Memphis, Tennessee, and Clarksdale, Mississippi, home of the blues. She died the next morning without regaining consciousness. I'm not going into details on the car accident because it was truly horrific. And it was a bad way to go. Anyway, Bessie Smith, one of the greats, if not the greatest of all time. Happy birthday. And I know you're listening. All right. Now, let's get this show cracking. Twitter. You know, I thought about this for a minute today, and I'm just going to go there. I'm going to go there. Seth Rogen. What's his best movie? Are they all the same? Are they all even keel? Or does one stick out? And I'm going to say this. If anybody out there types in, tweets the movie Neighbors, you're banned from the show for life. But what's Seth Rogen's best movie? Because some of it's really, really good. All right. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Facebook is JimmyChurchRadio.com. YouTube is Fade to Black. Everything is Fade to Black at JChurch Radio. Go follow, like, and subscribe. Tonight we have actor Dean Haglund. And before I get to Dean Haglund, I've got to, before I get to the news that you know nothing about, I'm going to take a minute right here. I'm going to pack it in. I'm going to get it done. This is Mark's email. Are you ready? Here we go. This comes from Mark Wyatt from the UK. He says, most people are lucky if they have had one paranormal experience in their life. I have probably had at least 30, and here's one of them, my own strange train experience. Around 1981, I was 21 years old. I was on my way to work on a Saturday morning. I live in Shalford, a country village in southeast England, just a mile or so from Guildford, a small city. I walked to the village railway station to catch a train into town, into Guildford, a journey that would take about 10 minutes. Shalford Railway Station is an unmanned station. It was about 8 a.m., and on a beautiful, dry, sunny morning, I arrived at the station and walked down a long sloping path to climb over a footbridge to get to the other platform. There was nobody on either platform. As I stood on the other platform, I did my usual thing. I paced up and down the edge of the platform, occasionally stopping to look at the usual junk that ends up between the electrified rails, and also looking down the line, searching for the first sign of the little electric train coming up from Gatwick Airport. I was about 15 minutes early. I was bored and just kept pacing and looking down the line. There was still nobody about, but that wasn't that unusual on a Saturday morning, as most working commuters had Saturday mornings off. Then the strangest thing happened. I suddenly noticed an older, stocky man with very thin, white, gray hair. He looked about 65-ish, in dark black trousers, a black blazer jacket, and a dog collar, a Church of England vicar, walking towards me along the platform. This was weird because I had not seen him crossing over the footbridge. And to where he was, he would have to have crossed that footbridge. He came right up to me and we greeted each other. He had a real presence, and there was something very deep about his eyes, sort of unworldly. He dominated the conversation. That would make some of my mates laugh. I can hear them now. Yeah, right, nobody can out-talk you. But he had uncanny knowledge of all of my family, but I didn't know who he was. I was trying to figure out who he was, but for some reason, I didn't ask him how he knew so much about me and my family. Now, a little background here. I was brought up in the church, in the C of E Church, Church of England Church, not a devout Bible-bashing fundamentalist sort of way, but more in a low-key, very English way. We weren't Catholics. We didn't go in for all of the heavy stuff that they do on a daily basis. I had been a choir boy, and I ended up being a head chorister. My best mate was and is our vicar's son. I tell you this just to show you that in my small village, I know the vicar very well. I knew the previous vicar well, too, and it wasn't this guy. I can still picture this guy to this day, and the weird thing is that he resembled Clarence the angel in A Wonderful Life. Interesting. I spotted the light of the train headed towards us from Chilworth about a mile down the track, and I told the guy. He turned around to see. We chatted a bit more. The train pulled up alongside the platform, and we both got on our way. He said something along the lines of, hey, they still look the same way as we remember them. The young couple are still staring at me. He's talking about, I skipped a little bit forward. There was a couple that came up and started talking. And he makes comments about them that are a bit strange. He was talking about them and reacted them in a very emotional way. He had something along the lines of, they are the same as we remember them. Looking back on it later, I had the feeling that perhaps he couldn't see the vicar and thought that I was mad as a box of frogs and talking to myself. Another thought was that they were there somehow linked to him and reading and studying me. Within minutes, we arrived at the busy platform number 5 at Guildford. I said goodbye to him. He seemed really phased out, as if energy had faded. He barely noticed me, so I got off the train, and then, out of curiosity, I looked back at the window where he had been sitting because I felt in my bones that there was something wrong about all of them. No vicar. The young couple was gone too. I walked up and down the train and looked at all of the people getting off. No sign of any of them anywhere. I would have seen them. Years later, I've told the story to a friend, and he suggested that my guardian angel was pacing on that platform and got the idea that I was thinking of jumping in front of the train when it had arrived. He says, who knows? I don't. I'm just another guy trying to figure it all out, Jimmy. And there you go. And that's the letter from Mark Wyatt. This is Fade to Black. I'm going to take a quick break. I got some other stuff, too, when I come back. I have the Fade to Black, or the Facebook Fade to Black FB. Facebook posting about the UFO sighting that happened at the end of the show last night. I'll get to that and all of the news that you know nothing about. And then Dean Haglund will join us at the bottom of the hour. I'll be back right after this. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the Masses, the Wednesday edition. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Do not touch that mouse. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church.
Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black, the Wednesday edition. Tonight, Dean Haglund, one of the Lone Gunmen from the X-Files, will be with us in a few short minutes. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Got this post from Leonard today on Facebook. He says, so I've got a story, and you'll like it because it involves you. Last night I called into the show towards the end. I was on the line and I could hear you and your guest talking. Unfortunately, right when you began to talk to me, my phone mysteriously died. I was going to tell you about a UFO that was flying over my house live while you were on the air. And I had my coworker in the front yard watching this extremely bright light floating up and down and back and forth in the sky. It was really strange that my phone died when it did because it was nearly completely charged. I have an iPhone, and they don't normally do that. My friend and I watched it for about 20 minutes, and then it just dimmed and disappeared. It's not the first time I've seen this light, but it has never been this close. I want to say it was about 200 to 250 feet up tops. My friend didn't believe in UFOs before, but he sure as hell does now. I live 20 minutes south of Mavericks. And if you know California, and that's from Leonard, if you know California and you know San Francisco and you know that area, then you know Mavericks. So that's where he was, out near the coast in California. Northern California. If anybody was up there last night and saw anything strange, let me know. And I guess, we're West Coast time, so that all went down at about 9:45 last night, 9:45. So if anybody saw anything out on the California coast near San Francisco and Mavericks, please contact the show. And if you got any pictures or have anything to report, again, contact me right here, Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. I want to know about it. All right, let's get to the news that you know nothing about. I'll try to get as much of this in as I can before we get to Dean here at the bottom of the hour. U.S. Capitol Police today converged on a small manned aircraft that landed on the west front lawn of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Police have taken the pilot into custody. They're investigating a gyrocopter with a single occupant that has landed on the grassy area of the west lawn of the U.S. Capitol. The U.S. Capitol Police continues to investigate with the person detained and temporary street closures in the immediate area. According to White House spokesman Eric Schultz, the president has been briefed on the situation. The Tampa Bay Times is reporting that the pilot is a mailman from Florida who planned the flight to protest the Supreme Court decisions in Citizens United case and influence on outside money in politics. He told the Times that he wanted to deliver mail to the lawmakers outlining his complaints. The paper is reporting it was he called the Secret Service and Capitol Hill Police before he flew. The pilot was planning the protest flight for over 2 years, purchasing the copter, learning to fly it. and then planning on delivering mail to Washington, D.C. NASA released the first ever color images of Pluto today, captured by the New Horizons probe as the spacecraft continues its marathon journey to the remote dwarf planet. The picture, which was taken by the probe's Ralph Color Imager last week, shows the rust-colored Pluto and its biggest moon, Charon, as little more than two little blurry specks. Somebody post this on Twitter really quick. I have a couple of snapshots of it, too, here as well. But NASA says that it expects to deliver a much closer look soon. Starting in May, Pluto will get the highest resolution images ever, and it's going to get better and better every day from here. New Horizons, which the space agency calls the fastest spacecraft ever launched, will cap its 10-year mission when it performs a flyby of Pluto and its neighboring bodies on July 14th. Completing its primary mission over 3 billion miles from Earth. The pictures are 400 meters per pixel. A Georgia man found a new way to deflect blame after shooting his mother-in-law. That's right. He said an armadillo was at fault. Indeed, the armored animal was the target of the son-in-law's bullet, but it ricocheted off of the armadillo, hitting his mother-in-law. Larry McElroy, 54, was outside when he took aim at the armadillo with his 9mm pistol. The Lee County Sheriff's Office told the news. The armadillo was not faster than the speeding bullet, though, which ended up being more powerful than McElroy expected as it leaped off the fence and into a building on his property. That's right. The bullet ricocheted, flew into the door of his mother-in-law's mobile home, about 100 yards away from where he was standing, through her recliner, and hit her in the back. She's actually okay. The armadillo was pronounced dead at the scene. An Arkansas lawyer, currently involved in a police whistleblower case, was in for a rude surprise when he received an external hard drive via Federal Express from a law enforcement attorney. It was stuffed with 3 different kinds of surveillance malware. Lawyer Matthew Campbell of North Little Rock first started thinking something was wrong when the attorney for the Fort Smith Police Department responded to his request for evidence by sending him a hard drive. Typically, Campbell had received evidence via email, the U.S. Postal Service, or a cloud-based storage system. Something didn't add up in a way they approached it. So I sent the hardware to my software guy first. Campbell said to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette, "I thought I'm not plugging that thing into my computer." After a security consultant took a look at the hardware, he found it was set up to take over his computer and allow for the installation of additional malware. The presence of the software wasn't an accident, according to an affidavit that was filed on the case last week. The placement of those Trojans all in the same subfolder and not in the root directory means that the Trojans were not already on the external hard drive that was sent to Mr. Campbell and were more likely placed in that folder intentionally with the goal of taking command of Mr. Campbell's computer while also stealing passwords to his accounts, reads the affidavit. The case involves 3 police officers who tried to blow the whistle on officials for wrongful behavior. So, it's Oprah, Bill Murray, George Clooney, Scarlett Johansson, Jerry Seinfeld, Howard Stern, Tina Fey, Michael Keaton, Steve Martin, and Ray Romano. Yesterday, The Late Show with David Letterman announced some of the guests that the talk show host's final month of broadcast will have on the show. The last Late Show will air Wednesday, May 20th. Now, if there are any doubts that healthcare data breaches are a major problem, the medical industry just put them to rest. Researchers have published a study showing that a whopping 29.1 million Americans' health records were compromised between 2010 and 2013. Most of them, 58%, were exposed through theft. But the rest were revealed through a mix of hacks and carelessness, including workers who have unauthorized access, or didn't properly get rid of the info that they no longer needed. And that's it. That's all the news that you need to know. I am ready. Let's go. Hit a break. When I come back after the break, we will be joined with Dean Haglund. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, Bespoke Radio for the masses. Oh, yeah. Game Changer Network, KGRA, The Planet. Follow us on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back with Dean Haglund right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fadernauts and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of fruity, loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fadernaut special. That's www.coavapor.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's JimmyChurchRadio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go back, Lee Tappy. All right, welcome back. Fade to Black, the Wednesday edition. Right on. Bespoke Radio for the masses. I am your host, Jimmy Church. The Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Let's get this show cracking. Dean Haglund played Richard Ringo Langley, one of the Lone Gunmen on The X-Files. He's a stand-up comedian specializing in improvisational comedy, and also portrayed Langley in the X-Files spin-off series The Lone Gunmen, which aired in 2001. Haglund appears briefly in the 2007 documentary From Here to Andromeda, which I watched again last night. Haglund was born in Oak Bank, Manitoba, Canada. The son of a structural engineer, he is the inventor of the Chill Pack, a commercial external cooling product for laptop computers. Haglund currently hosts the Chill Pack Hollywood Hour podcast, where he discusses all things Hollywood with independent filmmaker Phil Learness, and who he also produced the documentary, and he stars in UFOs, The Truth Is Out There. I would like to welcome to the program, we can't forget, You also host episodes of The X-Files on the YouTube channel, which I've also been checking out. Haglund is on the advisory board of Sci-Fest, the first annual Los Angeles science fiction one-act play festival. I'd like to welcome live from downtown Los Angeles, right down the street, Dean Haglund. Dean, how are you tonight, sir?
Good, Jimmy. How are you doing?
Welcome to the program, man. I'm so fired up. I'm excited.
Me too. It's great to be on the show.
And, you know, I do this with all first-time guests, and you'll be back with us, and we won't do the disclaimer, but I'll do this now.
Okay.
It's just you and I sitting on my couch, my friend. We're going to have an open-ended conversation where we start. Yep, where we start, we end where we end, and hopefully we're still friends.
Well, you know, it takes a lot to offend me, so do your worst, Jimmy.
Well, you know, this is the thing, Dean, and this is what I respect so much about you is I've listened to Chill Pack so much, and I've seen your documentary. Probably, it's one of those documentaries you go back and you watch it over and over again, and I've probably seen The Truth Is Out There 10 times.
Wow.
And I have, and I think most people have, because there's so much in it. It's funny, it's controversial, it's you learn stuff in it too as well. And you've got to go back and just watch it over and over again. And so I've done it so many times. I want to spend some time on that and how you got that done. But I want to back up and talk a little bit about Canada and what that was like growing up there. And did you have any encounters or anything? You know, there's probably more UFO sightings in Canada than anywhere else in the world, and I don't know why that is. So
I don't know either. But your question is, had I seen any UFOs before I got on the X-Files?
Yeah, well, before you came to the United States, certainly growing up in Canada.
No, I didn't. I had friends who had seen an odd thing or two up in the sky, and my brother was really into UFOs and conspiracy theories and stuff like that, so much so that when I was on the X-Files, I would actually call him to learn about some of the stuff that were mentioned in the scripts. So he was more into it, but then through osmosis, I learned it as well.
And, okay, so what about all right. What about your family? Were they open-minded? Was this stuff that was ever discussed? Or, you know, was it a conservative upbringing?
No, it wasn't too conservative. My mom was of the Mennonite clan in Manitoba. You know, there's a very large Mennonite population there.
Right.
So they're sort of conservative, but they also have other, you know, they're not closed-minded to the point of, I saw a UFO, get out of the house or anything like that. So there was discussion on alien life and alternative life forms and all that sort of thing, but done in a kind of a scientific manner. Like we all were up on our encyclopedia knowledge of all things unusual. So, we talked about it, but I don't think we ever, were spending hours and hours looking into the skies for UFOs or anything like that.
And then I know that you were in improvisational comedy up in, this is why I definitely want to talk about this because I'm into this subject. You got into that up in Canada. And again, and this is the other thing, when you started to get into this, when you look at all of the Canadians that got into that, I don't know if it's the water, if it's the snow, but you guys cranked out comedians left and right. I mean, just all across the country.
Absolutely. And the improv group that was in Vancouver at the time came after the World's Fair of 1986 in Vancouver. And they basically hired every funny improviser from across Canada, moved them all to Vancouver. And then so there's this theater group that had this high concentration of incredibly talented, incredibly funny people, including Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right.
Gary Jones from Stargate, all these guys that were so funny. And you would perform with them. You do 10 shows a week with them. And naturally that rubbed off and how, and I'm thankful for that today.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for Canada. I mean, without that, look, the obvious stuff when you look at, the Rick Moranis's and that whole crew and that whole side of things and some of those great films that came out of you look at I'll pull one out of the hat right now. Club Paradise, which is something, right? You know, nobody talks about that film today. I'll watch it right now and laugh, and I've seen it 1,000 times.
That's funny. I didn't really think of that as a Canadian film, but I guess it is. It's Martin Short.
Yeah, everybody's in that.
Everybody's in that. That's right. I had not put that together before.
But and it's just really funny. You guys were cranking it out, and so you're in the middle of all of that creativity, and then you come to L.A. Did you continue the improv here? Because I was following the improv scene here in LA. Do you remember Comedy Sports?
Of course I do.
Okay.
I played Comedy Sports a lot, actually. As you know, I guested in the Milwaukee Comedy Sports, New York Comedy Sports. Like the joy of once you learn improv and you have a TV show under your belt, then you could sort of just go to any city and sit in, be a guest member on any of these groups.
Did you do Comedy Sports here in LA?
I think I did once or twice when I first came through town. I was doing the Acme more, which had a late night improv on La Brea.
Right.
But they weren't an official Comedy Sports group. They were a loose band of improvisers from all different Second City, Improv Olympic out of Chicago, Comedy Sports and theater sports as well.
Yeah, I followed all of that. I got really addicted to the improvisational comedy scene that was going on here in L.A., you know, in the 80s and all throughout the 90s. It was really picking up steam.
It really was. And there was a lot coming into town. On the Santa Monica Pier at the Upfront, there was a Second City alumni show that I would perform with all the time. And then my stand-up act on the road would actually be a one-person improvised episode of The X-Files. If you can imagine that.
Yeah, tell me there's video. Just tell me there's video.
There is. You know, I filmed some of them at the conventions and then would burn it onto DVD overnight and sell the DVDs back to them. So there is video. Unfortunately, a lot of these conventions aren't really lit theatrically. There are a couple of overhead fluorescents. So there's incredible audio, but it looks like hell. But yeah, there's video. You can find it on YouTube here and there.
So now, did you do any other acting before the X-Files? Or was it all comedy leading up to that?
No. I had a degree in theater. I was doing the classics, you know, the Shakespeare's and the all that sort of thing. And was a very large but struggling independent theater scene in Vancouver. So I did a lot of plays, dramatic plays there as well. But then once the theater sports took off, I was doing 10 shows a week for 4.5 years. So that really ate up my time.
And then how did the X-Files happen? What happened in between the two?
Well, what happened, like all actors, you perform at theater at night, then you audition during the day. And first season of X-Files, nobody had actually heard of it. It wasn't really a big hit. It took 2-3 seasons for it to really get traction. So I auditioned with 35 other people who were either comedians, improvisers, or military skinhead types, or they didn't know what they were looking for. And we all went in, and then they kept bringing me back to read other parts. Like I read Frohicke's part at one point. And then I read against other guys in suits who were trying to figure out who's going to be buyers. And then I had to go through like 5 different audition processes. And then I find out it's only for one day. It's a one day role. So we say our lines and stuff. But then the internet in the early days, the fans were online on a news group called All TV X-Files. And when they saw the Lone Gunmen, they went completely crazy because this meant that the writers and producers were lurking in the news group and they had these characters to reflect the culture that they had going on there. So from that excitement online, they kept bringing us back for one episode at a time. And it wasn't until the 3rd season that we actually said, oh, you know what? We might be part of this show for longer than we think.
What? Okay, now these are the direct questions.
Okay, good. Hit me.
Okay, Garth.
What? Garth?
Yeah. What?
Oh, excellent, Jimmy. Absolutely. Okay, so here's two theories. Yes, I look like Garth from Wayne's World, and the glasses. I had that long hair was my actual long hair that I had since the 5th grade. So I came into the audition like that, and then on set, the props guy just handed me some horn rim glasses, saying, "Oh, here, just wear those. That'll be cool." And then that was it. That was how the look sort of suddenly developed just as I walked onto camera. So I don't know if that's where Mike Myers got that idea, or because he was in Second City when I was doing stand-up in Toronto briefly. So I don't know if he was doing that character on the Second City stage and had a long blonde hair and stole it from me back then, or did he steal it from me on X-Files? But I would have to say, Garth came after Langley.
Really?
I can't run it down to actual days and timelines, but that's what I'm going to say.
Well, the resemblance, it's just too much on the mark. It's the T-shirts, it's the hair, it's the glasses. And, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And
absolutely.
Everybody's been asking the same question. So you're putting it to bed right now.
I am. I'll probably catch some flack for it, but I'll put it to bed. That's right.
Okay.
First.
Who picked out the T-shirts?
Well, that is the writers, believe it or not. Glenn Morgan and James Wong originally wrote the episode where the gunmen first appear. Mm-hmm. And they apparently were in an airport one time, and they walked past a table of a guy in a rock shirt, a guy in a leather jacket, and a guy in a suit, and they were handing out UFO conspiracy cover-up literature to people getting on airplanes. Like, I don't know what airport they were at, but they said, "Oh, that's hilarious. We got to remember that for one of our scripts that we'll write in the future." And so they wrote that, and they said specifically that my character was wearing a Ramones shirt. So from the early get-going, I wore Ramones, and then it branched out to DOA and Personality Crisis and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. I have to ask specifically about DOA. You're saying that the writers of the show knew who DOA was?
Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool.
Isn't that great? They were up in Vancouver writing, and so DOA was, I think they were still together, but they were disbanding at that point. But the lead singer, Joey Shithead, was running for mayor in Vancouver around the same time the show was on. So he was getting a lot of publicity as the ex-lead singer of DOA, now running for mayor. So that's probably where the writers first heard of it and then sort of followed that up.
And it must have seriously followed you now. When you go to conventions, is somebody coming up to you with a wig and a DOA shirt? Seriously.
Yeah, DOA, the Ozymotley.
Yes.
I wore that one a couple of times. The Suicidal Tendencies had one shirt appear there. And, of course, the Ramones. I mean, the Ramones, that's the one that has been, the most cited. And even the Ramones themselves have personally called me and invited me to Joey's posthumous birthday party in the Bowery Ballroom.
I remember the Suicidal shirt too as well. Did you get to that Suicidal album? By the way, it's one of the greatest ever.
So great.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Now, see, how many paranormal shows can you come on and talk about, suicidal tendencies?
Very few. Absolutely. In reference to and know the album and that song. And I was in a punk rock band too back in high school. So we were in the worst Canadian punk rock band ever in the existence of, and we're not the worst in that you were bad. We were like technically lousy musicians and everything. So,
I wish if you would have gotten here a few years earlier here in Hollywood, what was going on here was crazy. Everybody. You had everything from the Germs and Susie and the Banshees and Black Flag and
X.
X and Suicidal. This was Tex and the Horseheads. And Raji's on Sunset Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard.
Right, the bar down here, the 107.
Yes.
Yeah. That was seemed to be a big venue at the time, and even the Olympic Theater. That Black Flag played there. I'm just around the corner from that place. I would have loved to have seen that as a punk venue back then.
It was all real. It was a real scene that was really going on, and you had to be authentic. You couldn't be a poser.
Right, and it seemed so diverse too. Like the musical styles coming out, like they weren't so categorized as like, oh, it's got to be speed metal or it's or subgenres of straight edge punk or DC Minor Threat. It was like you had this diversity of musical styles that, because of its authenticness, was allowed to prosper.
Yeah, you could go to Raji's on Hollywood Boulevard and you would see, it was like 10 bands a night. You got to play like 4 songs.
Right.
But you would go in there and there would be speed metal. There would be hardcore punk like the Germs, and then you would have Tex and the Horseheads, this that country punk thing going.
Right.
And it would be varied all night long, and everybody loved it. You just had to be real. That's all. That was the only credentials. You couldn't be fake. And it was totally diverse. And I was an Eddie Van Halen guitar player. My punk band at the time was called the Foam Decoys, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Foam Decoys. Let me get this. Let me just picture what the deeper meaning of that. So are you trying to fake foam out? Are you like trying to make the foam come to mating with the foam decoys?
Not only that, you should have seen our logo. Not only that, we envisioned ourselves kind of like a Public Image Limited. We had that the Ian Hover was our front man, who was he produced the Suicidal record.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah. So so he was our singer, and then Pat Mack, our bass player, was really incredible. And we had this other guy, Anthony Portillo, on drums. So Anthony was like a John Bonham guy. Pat Mack was a hardcore punker, hardcore. Ian Hover was the punk frontman, classic style guy, and envisioned him. He was like a Darby Crash, Germs kind of guy. And then you had me, this progressive Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen wannabe guitar player, but it worked.
Oh my gosh! Did you have a look? Like, did you all have to spike your hair, or did you do? Or?
Oh no, everybody was all punk. I was the only guy wearing hairspray, and I did my best to get accepted. Man, I did my best. Oh, I love those days, though. I absolutely love.
What would Foam Decoys music be about? Technically, like what?
Well, like I said, we were. Imagine, the Sex Pistols meets Van Halen. It was kind of like that. It was.
Oh, I see. So you had a little pop edge to a grungy, like a thicker sound.
Yeah, and which took off 10 years later.
Absolutely.
Had we known, kind of like what Green Day turned into, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And it was fun, man. It was just, I look back, we were broke, everybody, and I look back, and those were the warmest, fondest memories.
Absolutely. Our bass player was so broke, he couldn't afford the case for the bass guitar. So he had the cardboard box that it came in from the department store where he bought it. And he brought that on the bus. And we went to gigs by public transit. And so he just had the cardboard box under his arm, and then we walked into a gig like that, and he couldn't even get the bumper stickers of other bands and stuff.
Yeah.
So he would just draw them on with felt marker on the cardboard box, so trying to look like a punk bass guitar case.
Dude, that is so cool.
That's how broke we were.
That's so punk. I'll tell you a quick story, and we're up against a break, and then we'll get to the good stuff after the break. But
okay, this is the good stuff.
Yeah, it is the good. This is why we do this show. I was with Steve Jones up at his house, right?
Okay,
and he lives in the Hollywood Hills at the time. I'm sure he's still there. And we're kicking it in his living room, And I turned to him and I said, you know what? I just got to ask you a couple of questions. No, man, go ahead, Jimmy. It's all right. I said, dude, did you guys have any clue that you were going to change the world? Yeah. He goes, man, we wanted beer money.
That was their motivation?
We wrote and played for beer money.
Wow.
And how cool is that? That's punk.
That's so cool. Oh, my God.
That's so punk, man.
That's awesome.
All right. Let's we got a couple of minutes. I'll warm up for the break. I do want to know when you first got into, this is what I want you to think about it after the break.
Okay.
As you got into the X-Files and things started to pick up steam, it's the same question that I threw at Steve Jones. Did you guys have any idea on set that you guys were about to change Hollywood and the world, and know that here we are 20 years later, 15 years later, 20, the legacy.
20, yeah. No, it started 20 years ago, 93.
Yeah. Think about that. That here we would be, 20 years later, that kind of legacy is behind you, and how you guys certainly changed an entire generation. And what kind of pressure is that, my brother?
I know. And to think that I could talk about the show from the comfort of my own home and, laptop, we're all connected through internet, like all of that, wrapping your head around that. It's pretty phenomenal.
It's unbelievable. It truly is. So we'll talk about that when we come back after the break. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses tonight. Dean Haglund is with us for the duration. I'm going to talk him into taking some phone calls, too, in a little bit. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Alternative Talk, KGRA.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference, being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's all here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black, the Wednesday edition. Tonight, Dean Haglund is with us. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Wow.
You know, during the break there, Jimmy, I was on the old Google search for foam decoy punk band.
Yeah, what'd you find?
I found punk Jake Turkey decoy. That's as close as it comes.
Well, you know, I can. There are some pictures. I'll have them tweeted out right now. Somebody tweet the picture of me in the shorts and the flame guitar with my grandmother's curtains. And when you look at this picture, it'll post on Twitter here in a bit. And that picture was taken at the Foam Decoy rehearsal studio on Hollywood and Western, and which was at the Hollywood and Western Billiards Building. And that's where it all went down in the mid to late 80s, right there. So when you check this picture out, you're going to die laughing.
Awesome.
So now, listen, I picture this is the deal, and this is what you've got going for you, and you are in the 1/10 of 100th of 1 percentile in all of Hollywood. In that, you're at the old actors retirement home, Sunny Village in Burbank, right? In another 20 years, you guys are playing dominoes and pinochle,
right?
Some guy says, "Hey, you know, I was on the Golden Girls," whatever. You know, the next guy says, right? And you're going to go, well, you know, I was one of the Lone Gunmen on the X-Files. Well, the conversation stops.
It is a bit of a business card.
Yes, it is. And did you guys have any idea on the set so early on that this kind of momentous success, which is rare in Hollywood, was about to happen? What was the vibe?
Well, the vibe was even rarer in Vancouver because, you know, Vancouver up till that point had a lot of procedurals, 21 Jump Street, stuff that you would never watch. Unsub. Do you remember a show called Unsub or Beans Baxter?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, like all of these kind of low budget toss-offs that were like, oh, you know, so you think, oh, we're on another procedural, but what no one knew was this Chris Carter feller and how dedicated he was to quality workmanship, not just in the writing and in the directing, but in all the departments. You know, he had the lighting guys swing for the fences to do, you know, where else you never saw before that in television, where the blacks would be so black and there'd be, you know, really overexposed front lights and, you know, and lights into the camera and all that sort of thing. And so the look was different. The director was different. Everything about it was so different. But, you know, we didn't know the first season and second season, the ratings were still low. And, you know, maybe we thought that it was just too experimental for the present day audience. And it wasn't until the New Yorker second season wrote an article about how fantastic they loved the show that it really began to get some traction and really take off after that.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
No, yeah. So nobody had any idea, and even we're a bit discouraged actually in the first a year and a half of working on it.
Well, yeah, you're always wondering what the suits are going to do. You know, if you're going to show up on set one day and they say, well, you know what, we're done.
Yeah, totally. And there was always that fear because, you know, Peter Roth was the head of Fox at the time, and he was really supportive of the show. And it was a Friday night spot. Like, think of that. There was like a TV show on a Friday night, which is notoriously a ratings dumping ground. And so there it sat for the longest time till it moved to Sundays. But you know, eventually word of mouth hit it. And then it was still a time when families would gather and watch TV together on a Friday night. You know, everything would stop and they would all sit on the couch together. And it was a show that, you know, grandparents could watch and little kids could watch for the scary monsters. And there was something for everyone in that show. So it was kind of neat how that all came together.
Yeah, for me, during the first season, I just thought it's the perfect show for me and my friend. This is exactly what I want to see, and it's not going to last. This is going to get canned. This is, you know, that's the way that I felt, but it just kept going and going. And you know what, though? I'll say this. The writing got better, too, after the first season. When the second season kicked in, and going into the third season, you guys were really starting to click on all cylinders.
Absolutely. And, oddly enough, one of the circumstances that I think made that happen was Gillian Anderson getting pregnant in the first season. And so they had to figure a way to write around her and write her out of the show. And so her abduction suddenly became this overreaching story arc that they had not planned before. Now every TV show does that. They have like a long story arc in it. And originally it was just going to be kind of a standalone Monster of the Week series. And then all of a sudden now you had Scully, who's been abducted, and she's not a believer, and why was she abducted? And then you have this human-alien genetic experiment going on and all of that sort of thing. So this kind of lucky accidents allowed the writers to sort of improvise on the paper each and every week as they had to work around circumstances and limitations.
And she speaking of punker, she's hardcore.
She's hardcore. Yeah, she was living on St. Mark's in Manhattan at the height of it, working at the used clothing store and doing angry spoken word poetry with spiky hair. Yeah, she was in it.
She was so hardcore.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw a couple of her tats, I was like, wait, what?
Yes. Yeah, and an incredible actress too. That's the thing is The X-Files was maybe her second or third professional gig ever. And, just rocketed to stardom like that. And then when she moved to London, she really got a chance to do plays. She did, What the Night Is For and Streetcar Named Desire on the West End. And really now has developed into a really incredible actress, based on that.
Yeah, never be racist when it comes to punkers. You just... You can't do it. When I could just see her in full punk garb, the leather jacket, how she normally dresses when she's not on set, and walk into someplace and have some jaded person think to themselves as they checked her out, how do you get a job dressed like that?
Yeah, totally. Remember that old statement? Like, what? Doesn't make sense. And now, of course, it's in every store like that.
Right. Well, I could get on the X-Files.
Yeah, exactly. That's her thinking. I thought, I could get a lead in the series like this.
Oh,
well,
man.
And even weirder, if you look at the early trading cards and some of the promotional stuff of the first season, she was actually made to be dowdy, believe it or not. Like they made her hair sort of like Midwestern housewifey. And
absolutely.
And like nobody realized what kind of bombshell she was going to turn into. Because there was going to be, hunky believer and then the skeptic who's this sort of dowdy FBI go by the book agent sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, all of that started transitioning and their personalities developed and then the writers started writing towards those strengths.
And then the next thing that happens, success starts to kick off.
Yeah.
Money starts rolling in, and I'm assuming that everybody's scale went up, right?
Well, everybody, I guess technically. Some had better agents than others. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't need to go there. But what does happen is, now you have the ability to bring in, more writers, more production value. You've got assistance from the studio. You have money, and the sets are more extravagant.
Absolutely.
And things started really to build up from there, which enables a better show, right?
Absolutely. So true. If you think about that episode where the submarine breaks up through the ice, that was done inside a studio where they refrigerated an entire skating rink, basically, and built a submarine under the ice on a hydraulic lift. So first the set was built, then they flooded it, then they froze it for 3 days, then they went in there to shoot, and then in one take the submarine stack comes through the ice. That was not a special effect, that wasn't digital, that was an actual giant refrigerated studio. At the time in television, unheard of that you would go to that kind of lengths for those kind of effects.
Okay, I'm going to say this real quick to Bob. He just tweeted the picture of me and the band Foam Decoy. Now, Bob, tweet this to Dean, which is at D Haglund, so he can see this in Twitter. I would do it, but then I can't talk at the same time. Yeah, I could never sing backup vocals and play guitar either. So that's there you go.
I understand.
But wait till you see this picture. So that's who who's doing this interview now. Boy, life changes. Now, okay, so does Chris Carter know something?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Is there something going on there? And would you tell me if you knew?
Well, it's so funny because I was doing stand-up while the show was on the air. And I would travel around North America doing clubs. And after the show, invariably everybody would come up and talk about the show. But there would also be ex-military officials and FBI agents, retired and some working, that would come up and they would say the same thing. How are you getting this information into your shows, and who is supplying it? Like, because they couldn't say anything, but it was supremely accurate, shockingly to detail, and all of them were just kind of shaking their head and looking at me askew, wondering how we did what we did.
Because some things, when you look at Spielberg and some of the other great directors that seem a little like there's some knowledge there, something is being fed. Chris Carter just seemed to be onto something, and it's not only when you're in our genre, we know things, and so we know when somebody else knows something, and when they're onto something. And Chris Carter had that in spades, and that causes conspiracy.
Right. Well, exactly. And so he, I'm sorry, I've been distracted by your shirtless flame guitar picture.
You thought I was playing, didn't you?
I thought you were. Yeah. No, I'm alarmed. No. Well, Chris Carter based the show on Kolchak the Night Stalker, and he loved that show. If you remember, that was Darren McGavin.
Oh, I loved every episode. Every episode,
and there were vampires and werewolves and all of that sort of thing. So he was trying to create that. But at the same time, Frank Spotnitz, Vince Gilligan, who went on to do Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, John Scheiben, these were the main writers. And all of them had vivid libraries in their writing rooms that were most unusual, not your regular screenwriters' writing rooms. They didn't have the Sid Fields How to Write a Screenplay, didn't have 30 scenes from 30 movies or anything like that. They had like the rituals of Mithra and the how to decontaminate a radioactive field. Like weird books like that in their library. And when I would go in, I said, "Why do you have these?" "Oh, you never know. One of these little things might pop in our head, and we'd include it in the show."
Right.
So it was their expansive knowledge that seemed to coalesce into the zeitgeist of the time. So I don't know. There was never any men in black walking around dropping scripts off in the office when I was hanging out there, but for sure there was,
Well, that was always the rumor on the street, that the X-Files themselves were used to warm up humanity for the knowledge of that was forthcoming.
Right.
That this is here, and this is DC and the CIA and the NSA pumping in information to the masses, getting them warmed up for the shock of what's about to come.
Right. At the same time, there was Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros, who thought just the opposite. He thought that by popularizing UFOs and aliens, you diminish those who are taking it seriously because they can be now written off as someone who just watches too much TV. So, in fact, he refused to play on the first X-Files album of 25 bands that were just doing music inspired from the X-Files. And he refused because, and his direct quote was, the X-Files has set back human-alien relations by 20 years.
And isn't that the same message, though? Isn't it the exact same thing? You're communicating to the masses to have an effect. And that's Farrell's take on it, and or Perry Farrell. I said Farrell.
Yes, you combined it.
And by the way, I'll jump into this. Do you remember downtown the China Club in L.A.? Were you here for that?
Yes, just when it closed, I was the first coming to town.
Oh man! So at the Roosevelt Hotel down there in which was an incredible venue, I saw Jane's Addiction at 4:00 in the morning in the big room.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and there was a 2-hour gap between I think it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers and then Jane's Addiction because the club ran out of beer. And you know how big that place was, right? It held
massive.
Thousands of people.
Yeah.
And they ran out of beer. And so, but somehow they pulled it off and got alcohol into the venue. And Jane's Addiction hit the stage at 4:30 in the morning. Anyway,
wow,
but,
that's poor planning on their part.
I don't know how I got into that, but that was like 1988. I'm going to say 88.
Yeah, close soon after.
But so back to Perry Farrell's comments, and I remember those. I remember those comments, and it's it's really, even though it seems like it's the opposite, it's still using the X-Files to control the masses, and that's what he was saying, and it all feeds into this giant conspiracy behind the X-Files. And were you guys concerned about that on the set?
No, not really. Everybody was really more compelled to do, the best storytelling that they could. They would get the scripts and, you work 16-hour days. And so with your nose to the grindstone, you couldn't really step back to take a look at the bigger picture and the influence on society at large till, you, like myself, go to a comedy club over in New York or Fort Wayne, Indiana or something, and then see how it's reverberating with the people at large. But yeah, so that was never really discussed amongst everybody working. But it certainly was discussed afterwards. And a lot of people would come up to me, including this woman, who said, I'm a psychic, and I saw Chris Carter at a Hollywood party standing in the corner, and I went up to him and I said, whatever you're working on is going to make you a ton of money. And she said that was like 6 months before the X-Files got picked up. And I said, what were you doing at a Hollywood party? She goes, well, this was weird. I was hired by the CIA to go to Hollywood parties and just hang out, and then I would just email back what I talked about, all evening.
So do you think Chris knows something?
Yeah, I don't think he does. I think he really is an artist that connected either unconsciously or subconsciously to a larger thing that was going on. And like artists do, they hit something that resonates so amazingly because there's a chunk of truth to it. And I think it was subconscious. I think it was really one of the great artists, of the time that does that hits upon something that reverberates so deeply that it becomes a major hit.
So now it does take off, and now let's go to like 6 seasons in, 7. Now every conspiracy theory, everybody is on board now. Right? They're watching it every week. They want to see what the new message is.
Exactly.
And now it gets to the point where one is feeding the other, and such that do you think Chris is, and the writers in general, are now responding to the ebb and flow of the conspiracy theorists out there, and now they have to feed the machine?
Yeah, like the tail is wagging the dog sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there was that discussion because there was a lot of people coming then trying to add their stories. And I was even told at one point, listen, don't read anybody's script that's sending you scripts, because if you read something and then it shows up in the X-Files, that lawsuit is on you. We will not back you up on that at all. So for the last, 6 through season 10, I basically was getting writers all over the place going, hey, can you read my thing? And can you, take a look at it? And I had to say no, because if you wrote anything about UFOs or conspiracy or anything like that, even if I don't talk to Chris Carter or any of the writers, I'm going to have to prove that in a court of law if you sue me, because there was an episode that sort of mirrored your script. So it became, for me, this kind of shutting down of what's going on with other writers and what's going on in the writer's room on the show itself.
Did you guys have FBI on set?
They would come and visit. There was a consultant that Chris Carter would call in LA for just procedural stuff and that kind of thing. And even now, to this day, FBI runs a screenwriters weekend workshop where, some would tell you they're just telling you procedurals, but others will say that they're directing how they should be portrayed in the media. And, depends on which rebellious writer you're talking to. But that they do that for screenwriters in Hollywood.
Did you go part of your, you've got to base your character on something. Did you visit the FBI and check out, computer rooms?
Yes. I was invited often. I went to the major FBI office in El Paso, Texas.
Shut up.
Yes. Where that's the ground zero of the drug war.
Yes.
And was wearing the Kevlar vest. I think I have a few shots somewhere deep in my Facebook of me with older FBI bulletproof vests at the senior, what is he, senior agent, I guess, his desk. I'm sitting there with my feet up on his desk looking like a junior FBI agent.
And were you able to, how did you base your character?
Well, originally, because I took my major was theater in university, but my minor was in physics and exothermodynamics. So I knew a lot of these computer guys and physics, physicists.
Yes.
And they were all really cool. They were into Skid Row. They were doing alternative subculture art projects. All of them were very creative, and they weren't like the nerdy pocket protector type. So that was what was going through my mind when I was playing the character. Of course, the writers were talking to a lot of the people in LA and introduced me to the likes of Jordan Maxwell,
right.
Dr. Roger Lear, all those guys. And that's how I started being invited to UFO cons and conferences and all that sort of thing.
But your character, to me, it was a delicate balance of nerd and intelligence.
Yes, yeah. Well, because to me that it takes a lot of hours at the book, so maybe your social skills will diminish a little. So absolutely, you wanted to play that balance of not being so cool that it would seem like you never spent 2 seconds in front of a computer. But at the same time, you can't play so insular that it's not fun to play.
Well, and how was that for you? Because I know you. I don't know you, but
right.
But improv and comedy, you're outgoing, gregarious, people person, can talk to anybody. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the personality is that you're having a conversation with. You can adapt because that's what you do.
That's what you do. Yes,
but you're playing a character that is the exact polarized opposite of your natural true being.
Well, yes and no. I mean, to me, Langley still could communicate, but he was also, I overlaid it with that paranoia so that, you're not going to be gregarious with just anybody who shows up. So what seems reserved and nerdy may also be suspicious and keeping your guard up, as it were.
And so that had to have been totally fun.
So much fun.
Well, because, if you're, everybody wants to play the opposite of who you are. You want to play a murdering, gunslinging, it's the opposite of who you are in real life. So you can go out and just do it.
Yeah.
And that role, man, for who you are, like I said, Mr. Gregarious improvisational guy, and then you got to go and do this kind of role the season after. You must have been a kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah, it was really fun, and the joy of it was its ease of which to fly into it, because it was often I would show up on set with my just own wardrobe and then just switch out T-shirts, throw on a Ramones T-shirt, and then hop on set. So it wasn't like all my other friends in different sci-fi shows, 4 hours in the makeup chair, putting on alien outfits, or military gear and all that sort of thing. It was a breeze to come in, come in an hour before. And then often the writers, because they were working so hard, you would often get your lines on the day or just handed to you at the trailer just before you would go on set. So there wasn't a lot of prep time. So my improvisational background helped a lot in the ability to be relaxed with new information.
And how was it for everybody else? And we're not going to take a break at the bottom of the hour just because it's you, and we're going to keep on rolling. But it was a fun job. It was a fun gig. It wasn't it wasn't something that you abhor. You didn't hate the role. You wanted to be there. Was it like that for everybody else?
Well, David and Jillian, they had to work 16-hour days every day. Oh, I apologize for the siren. This is downtown Los Angeles after all, and just went by. For them, it was, long 16-hour days. They would watch the sunrise almost every Saturday because invariably the week would get pushed so that your start time on Friday would be 4 p.m, and you still have to put in a 16-hour day. So you'd be, working well into Saturday and then have to be on set again Monday. So there wasn't much of a life they had for the first 5 seasons for sure. But for us, we would come in a day or two, we'd get our lines, we'd say stuff, and then I would just go back, call my agent in New York and have comedy clubs booked and hit the road and see the world of the fun way through comedy stages all over the place.
And then you turn into the UFO guy.
Yeah, well.
Now, was that something that you welcomed? You just said it yourself, Jordan Maxwell and everybody, the group that lives here in L.A.
Yeah,
you become that go-to guy, whether you like it or not. How did that happen? And was it a tidal wave, or did it slowly come on?
It was kind of slow. I mean, it was more. I never thought of myself as the UFO guy. I thought of myself as, oh yeah, I was on a show that had UFOs, so let's listen to these guys, and they're all fascinating, and they have spent their lives researching this stuff, and their stories are amazing, and so because of my improv background, you're given a suggestion, and you go with that suggestion. So you say yes and a lot to stuff. So if they said, oh, would you like to come to a UFO conference? You go, yes, and we'll do comedy there. And I would do my show there at the convention as well. And from there, then I would learn all about these things. And, Dr. Roger Lear's implant removals, I had seen those in the jars, and he told me all those stories. And so as I then do shows like this, then I would start repeating these fascinating stories that they would tell. And it would sort of grow out from that naturally.
You got to certainly with your UFOs, The Truth Is Out There, with that documentary. Everybody, well, not everybody, but most of the heavy hitters are there.
Yeah,
and you're in the circle. Was it again? It's kind of like the chicken or the egg, which came first. Mm-hmm. And so how did the idea for the germ of the idea for the film come about? And then as you're interviewing all of these personalities, were you learning from them, or was it the opposite? Did you already have this knowledge going in?
No, it was the other way around. I really was learning from them. As you see in that documentary, it is actually an exploration of not just the individual stories that they have, but the people behind it, and then how it all interconnects to everyone else's stories. So why you could watch that documentary again and again is it's not actually edited in a linear fashion, but in actually an orbital fashion, so that all of these threads connect to all these different parts of the circle, if you can imagine that. So this is why, you can watch a little bit of it and then pick it up again and see the connections that it all makes. And this all started because my co-producer, Phil Lernes, and on on the podcast, had come to a couple of conventions with me to sit beside me and, sell pictures and that sort of thing. And he was amazed, completely freaked out by the number of people coming up and telling me their stories, personal things, all that sort of thing. And he said right there that this is a documentary. And it was funny because I had been in it so long, I was didn't see the forest for the trees. Right. So at which point he said, we got to get a camera. We're going to follow you around the world for a year as you go to these conventions. And we talked to all these people. And he knew right then and there that this was all interconnected, that all of these stories, that all of these conspiracies, be it way out there or mainstream, had a common thread of not just humanity, but of a larger thing. And when you see the documentary, that thing sort of makes itself known, but we don't push it as an agenda.
How did you find Smallwood?
Smallwood, with
his part in the documentary is to me one of the more extraordinary parts of the film. His one act play, and then your discussions with him up on the roof, which were just mesmerizing.
Yes. Do you know Tucker Smallwood?
Yeah, I would love to have him on the show.
This guy is phenomenal. The amazing thing about him is in Apocalypse Now, the scene where he's water skiing on the back of the PTB.
Yep.
That Tucker Smallwood did that for real. That's how Coppola was inspired. And actually Coppola wanted Tucker in Apocalypse Now, but because he had just got back from Vietnam and had a horrendous injury, it was too traumatic for him to be in that movie. So he had to turn it down and later did Cotton Club instead.
Yeah. So did he approach you, or did you know about his experience?
I knew about his experience, and he's good friends with Phil as well. And him and I were also in a movie together called Spectres. And so we had worked together before, and in between sets, he had told me all about his UFO and Area 51 experiences and that sort of thing.
Did he approach? He came up to. I have to ask because it is such a brilliant part of the documentary, and for everybody that hasn't seen it, you can go. It's on YouTube. You can also go to thetruthisouthere.com, and the links are at Jimmy Church Radio. I'm sure most of our listeners have seen the documentary. Tucker Smallwood is the black actor in the documentary that does his one act play, and then discusses his experiences on the roof of a building in Hollywood somewhere. And
that's not just the roof of a building. That is a Nike missile radar platform in a decommissioned. It's now a park. But at the time, it was a top secret radar facility at the top of Brentwood, California.
Oh yeah. I have been up there. I didn't know that that's where it was.
Yeah. So that's where we filmed that as kind of a thing where we began talking about, what's a conspiracy, then later becomes a national park, because everybody would go, no, there's a nuclear missile radar site up there. No, that's just a conspiracy. And then later when it's decommissioned, it's like, it was there all along. So,
there's a few sites like that in the Hollywood Hills that most people don't know about. And if you just go hiking on the trails, you will find some missile installation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it was all linked up. And in the valley, there's still undeveloped fields that apparently still have the old silos underneath. So that was the basis. That's where we decided to start that conversation, to start this idea of what is the truth as revealed and what is your responsibility to reveal that. And he was, because I always think of him as like one of the forebears of the acting community who has these experiences and started telling the people about it. And so he was already doing that, but definitely Phil came to him and said, we need you to be part of this because this is going to be a continuation of the conversation we've already had for a number of years now.
Yeah, Tucker is such a refined gentleman. Okay,
yeah,
that's what he is. And when you hear him telling his experiences, you're like, whoa, man, he didn't need to come out.
No,
you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah. Like, and this is always the fear: is like, now will your career suffer, or is like, are you going to be judged that way or this way? And his career has been doing very well. In even, I was going to say in spite of that, but it's not in spite, because it's just a continuation of who he is, right?
Now, what did you learn as you started to complete this documentary? You shot it over a year, and you can tell. I mean, you're all over the planet.
Yes.
So
yeah, it was a lot of travel.
You didn't shoot this thing in a week.
No.
And you speak with everybody, and you speak with the psychologist too. She was great. What was her name?
Oh, Dr. Nikki Monty.
Oh, she's precious.
She is fantastic.
She's unbelievable. Yeah. So it's Jordan Maxwell and David Sereda.
Richard Dolan.
Who is also on this network and a dear friend.
Right.
And so, but what did you learn as you started to put all of this together?
Well, to me, the amazing thing was that that conspiracy and consciousness are sort of interconnected. That as your consciousness is raised, then so we go through our conspiratorial thought process and go, why is some of this knowledge hidden, and why are these things? And so as you have consciousness expansion in whatever form, there's people in our documentary who do the ayahuasca thing. There's everybody who's doing different kind of their own different paths and that kind of thing, that this idea of consciousness and conspiracy and then I add the element of comedy come together in kind of a interlocking fashion that I was really surprised at. And so the idea that searching for the truth can actually be fun and doesn't have to be, a horribly dark, depressing thing down a rabbit hole.
Have you had your own sighting?
UFO sighting?
Yes.
No. And, to this day, I think now, even if I did, I probably wouldn't say anything about it, because then they go, oh, poor Dean, he misses the show so much. he's seeing UFOs. So, no, I would tell you, but I have not. We even went to Yakima, where you have a 95% chance of seeing a unidentified flying object up there.
Right.
And we had the camera trained on the sky all night, but I went to bed early. So, and Phil didn't see anything either. So yes, we're still out of that. Ghost sightings I've had, but not UFOs.
Ghost sighting. See, I haven't. Well, I've had one ghost sighting. I've had one. Hey, you know where I had it? Oh, check this out.
Not at a punk club.
Yeah, right behind where they used to do Comedy Sports, at that theater on Bronson and Franklin, across from Scientology.
Oh, yeah. What the heck is the name of that thing?
Yes,
that Franklin.
Yeah, that theater. Yeah. That theater right there. At a house right behind it. Literally right behind that strip where the theater is, where they do the live comedy there, the improv. So right there, so the area, there at Hollywood, in the middle of Hollywood, across from Scientology. And I just had this weird thing. I pulled up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning at my girlfriend's house at the time. I'm waiting for her to come home, and she was supposed to already be there. And I went up and knocked on the door, and I didn't get an answer. And no, let me back up. I let the sighting out. So I pull up in the car, and I'm looking at the house, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm sitting there. And then I see the curtain pull to the side, big picture window on the front porch, big 8 by 10 foot piece of glass. And I see the curtain pull aside, and I see this face look out. And I went, oh, somebody's here. Must be your roommate. So I jump out of the car. Cool. I don't have to wait in my car. I go up and I knock on the door. Nobody answers. I'm like, come on. Bang, 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 bang. Nobody answers. I'm like, what? And I look in the window, and I can't see through the curtains, but I'm like,
somebody's in there.
Yeah. And it was uncool, because I was getting angry because I was being forced to sit in my car outside, or I could be inside the house, right? And so I knock one more time, and I go and I sit in my car, and I'm a little pissed off. And then finally, my girlfriend pulls up with another friend of hers, and I go, your roommate's home, but she's not opening the door. And she goes, no, she's not. She's over at Chris's house. She's not here. I go, no. Now everybody's a little freaked out because somebody's in the house. So we go up, we unlock the door, we turn on all the lights, we walk through all of the, nobody's there.
And I was forced entry? There wasn't a burglar in there?
No. And I was just freaked out because I know what I saw. And it was only 20 feet away from me. And now everybody's freaked out, and we checked the entire house. Nobody's there. And we freak. And,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so anyway, I don't want to take up a whole lot with that, but that was my one ghost sighting, and it was right.
That's really good, though.
Yeah, that's the real deal. And
well, and that area too. That's like old Hollywood, so there was a lot of actors and all that dying around there, and still probably haunting those areas.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I wish that for our listeners that are listening, this is right below the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Like you could you look up, and literally the Hollywood sign is glowing above this house. And that's what.
It could be Penny Entwistle for all you know.
Totally. Man, that was good. That was good. That was some insider stuff. So right. What was your ghost sighting?
Well, I was at a church that was converted to a theater in Springville, New York, an hour south of Buffalo. And I was there introducing The Truth Is Out There, actually, because I was there. A friend of mine lives there and had an art gallery. So I was doing a show there, and part of the show was to screen the documentary. And so, being on stage, doing stand-up, and doing improv particularly, you look at your audience and you know where everybody's seated immediately, right? So it was a small crowd. It was only about 15 or 20 people. And I knew like 10 of them. So I knew the 4 guys in the back row on the right, on my stage right. Were friends of mine. My girlfriend was taking tickets at the front. On the left side where the door was, there was a couple of people down front that I knew, and, scattered around. So basically I had the whole audience figured out. And so I'm introducing, this is a documentary blah, blah, blah. And I see my girlfriend get up, and she takes the last seat in the back row. And then as I'm talking, over on the stage right aisle, there's a guy walking down the rows just as I'm saying, and so enjoy the movie. And I turn left to get off the stage as this guy's coming down the aisle on the right. After the movie plays, I say, who is that latecomer walking down the aisle? And they said, oh, well, we thought he was a worker because he walked directly onto the stage. And I go, how did he walk directly? There's no stairs there. So basically, 3 of us saw a figure walk down the aisle and basically walk into the stage.
Wow.
I know. And then we were all like, wait a sec. So nobody was sitting, and when the lights came up, there was nobody in that area. So there was no guy who sat there or took off. And it was, it's triangulated. So I saw him coming towards me, and those guys saw him walking away from them. And then he disappeared into the stage.
Nobody saw him later. That's it.
Nobody saw him later. There was no, I didn't do a big history back check on the church or the theater, but there had been some deaths and some flooding in and around that area. Plus, there was a very Dickensian mental institution nearby. So that had a lot of abuse going on. So it could have been a ghost from that, but it was definitely a sighting seen by 3 from 3 different angles.
Wow, that's trippy.
That's trippy. Yeah, that's it's one thing to go, oh, I saw a guy down the hallway or something like that, and then people make you start doubting what you see after a while. But when 3 of you are collaborating, the same guy walking down the aisle, it's like, wow.
I've got a bunch of questions in Twitter I'm going to address here really quick before we get to the break. First question, Jimmy, Please ask Dean if David Duchovny is as dreamy as he looks.
That's from Jimmy?
That's
to you. Oh, I see. Oh, I get it. Is he as dreamy as he looks? Yeah, he's a handsome fella. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't take it seriously. You know, his major skill is being hilarious, really. And I don't think there's ever been, like, Californication was mildly funny, but he is incredibly a funny man. And I don't think any show is ever really allowed to tap into that.
Jimmy, please say hi to Dean from Vancouver.
Yay.
And ask him if there really is only one way to kill a cockroach.
Wow. Were we roommates? If this is the reference that I think it is, there's there was a cockroach episode, but is there only one way to kill a cockroach? No, there's numerous ways. If they're referring to a stand-up bit I did way back in my amateur night days, then that tweet goes way back.
It's funny. This audience is big and they're smart, and you just never know who's listening to the show. And I can tell there's some inside stuff here,
right,
with that. That's not being disclosed. Okay. And that's coming from Dew Sky. So, Dew, I want some more information.
Yeah, I won't say anything until I'm sure exactly what we're talking about.
And this comes in from Yvonne. She says, we know that Mulder was based on an actual person. Were the Lone Gunmen based on real people, too?
Yeah. Well, as I said, Glenn Morgan and James Wong saw these three weird fellas handing out UFO pamphlets in an airport and sort of based it on that. But then, you know, the characters themselves sort of developed far beyond that. And, you know, Langley, everybody says, was that named after Langley, Virginia? Well, there was also a suburb in Vancouver called Langley. And there was also a hot dog vendor right on Granville Street whose name was Langley that apparently the writers really enjoyed talking to. So, you know, everybody takes claim for the Langley name.
Yeah, I'm going with Virginia.
Yes, even though it's slightly different. Yeah,
don't kill it for me, okay?
What, a hot dog vendor in Vancouver would kill it for me?
That's good too. I love Vancouver. The Pan Pacific Hotel up there is. Anyway, this comes in from Walter, and I had to get to this somehow tonight. Thank you, Walter, for doing this. He said, "Can you please ask about the Lone Gunmen show predicting 9/11 6 months before it happened?"
Yeah. Yes, we had a spinoff, of course, called The Lone Gunmen in season 8, I guess it was, of the X-Files. And, we did a pilot episode written by Vince Gilligan and Chris Carter. And in it, we stopped a plane from flying into the World Trade Center 6 months before it actually happened. And in it, you know, it was green screened and we use our computers to get the control back to the pilots at the last second before they can fly it over the top. And part of the plot is that they're, you know, creating a false flag operation to start an international war on terror. That was also in the script. So when 9/11 happened, I didn't even put it together until one of the writers called me at home saying, "Are you watching this?" And then it really sunk in. Oh my gosh, this is exactly our pilot episode. And Vince had said that he got it from a Tom Clancy novel that had that written as a plot device in there. So there was no, it's another one of those artistic moments where you're channeling something. But at the same time, you know, it was very odd. And then when Condoleezza Rice going, well, there was nothing in popular culture that could have predicted this. We're like, hey, what was our show about?
How did you feel? I mean, obviously it had to affect you emotionally, and it's not funny stuff. You know,
no.
How did you feel?
Well, it was chilling. Actually, it was chilling, and also it made me somewhat curious. You know, was this? How did these two relay it out? Because even as I was watching it in real time and seeing Building 7 collapse, it seemed unbelievable. And this is where I think a lot of the, the truther movement and all that sort of thing comes up, is that, this all seems so improbable. And then years later, I'm at San Diego Comic-Con, and a writer by the name of Alex Lightman comes up to me, and he said he's working on a book on the connection between Al-Qaeda and Hollywood, and said to me that they had multiple plans in place, but then when they saw the Gunmen episode, they made the World Trade Center their A plan right after that. So this also put the burden on the show of like, oh my gosh, that was more information than I needed to know.
Exactly. And when you read stuff like, well, it could be any movie or it could be any Tom Clancy novel, but you read this or you see the movie and you're like, man, you're just giving the bad guys really good ideas.
Yes, exactly. In fact, there's was it Tom Clancy that wrote a novel of a train robbery? And he said it was so well thought through that he actually had to remove details from the novel so that people couldn't actually carry it out as a plan that the way he wrote it. So yeah, these guys, they spend hours thinking these things through, and
it's too good. It's too
good. You put that in the consciousness, collective unconsciousness, then it's going to reverberate.
Cortana just tweeted, in the new X-Files series, you have to wear a fade to black T-shirt.
Wow.
Well
played,
Cortana. I'll get you one. And we're gonna talk about the new X-Files too as well. This is a great question though. With all of the taping and stuff on the set, did you guys ever have anything paranormal happen? Anything weird happen on the set that kind of freaked you guys out? UFO sighting, ghosts, any ETs walk across the set,
No ETs. In fact, those were always, all the aliens were little girls from a ballerina school outside of, out in Coquitlam. Because there used to be in the first season little boys from a karate school, but then they would punch each other in the head and tear the foam rubber heads. So they started hiring little girls to be aliens throughout the series. So those were all, we knew those. But the episode Triangle, which was shot on the Queen Mary down in Long Beach, all the cast and crew stayed on the ship while filming that. Not all the cast, but a lot of the extra, as many people as they could fit on the Queen Mary. And all of them started having, they'd hear the child's laughter.
Yeah, that boat's completely haunted, man.
That boat's completely haunted. And I have since done other shows there for ghost tours, and the Ghost Adventure guys were there. And there's a hotel room at the very bottom by the back engine room that is so creepy. I couldn't even spend the night there. It was cold. It looked like it was foggy in the room. Like it had the creepiest energy you could ever imagine. And I was supposed to stay the night, and I left after an hour, and I just drove 2.5 hours home.
You know what? The Chelsea Hotel in Manhattan.
Yes, I stayed there once.
Yeah, so I was on tour with the band, and we're booked at the Chelsea. And this is a true story, man. This is God strike me dead right now. So we all go in. We're on tour with Soundgarden, and so we get to Manhattan. This is like 1989, and we get there, and we all check into the Chelsea, and I go into my room, and I put my bags down, and I'm there for about 15 minutes, and I'm like, man, this place is haunted. I don't dig this place. I picked up my bags, and I went out to the tour bus. And I get on the bus. I'm like, I'm spending the night here.
On the bus? Oh my God.
I am not sleeping at the Chelsea. That's a true story. I freaked out.
What room did you get? Do you know whose room?
Yeah, I probably got Sid and Nancy's for all I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, there is nothing but bad things went down at the Chelsea. Pick a room.
Yeah.
But, as cool and as historic as that place was, I could not stay in that room. I stayed on the bus that night. That's a true story. But the Queen Mary is just like that. You get on that boat and you walk down the hallways and you just kind of look and feel it. That boat is haunted, man.
Haunted. Yeah, and they don't let anybody in the pool much anymore. They used to tour through the pool because there was a murder in there and somebody drowned in there. And so the pool room itself was, to me, the creepiest, particularly on the changing room side, which they said now, due to so many tours going through, they don't let people go because the tile is falling off and stuff like that. But I think it's because so many people have had creepy experiences. The one that's even more horrific that nobody goes except this one ghost hunting group managed to get down to the water line, and underneath the water line is where they brought back 300 German prisoners after World War II, and not all of them made it. And so one of the ghost hunters spoke German, and when he was calling down into the black or inky depths below the water line, everybody's K2 meter started just scaling off the charts. So that was, to me, the creepiest part of the boat is where you can't go.
And you can tell there's one other thing that is funky, and you just bring up the water line. When you get to the Queen Mary and you look at it, and the way it's floating in the water, it's too damn big. It shouldn't float, right? But it shouldn't float. That's right. Right. It's huge. And then you're looking at the water line and the way that the boat is. It's funny you bring this up because when you go on to the Queen Mary and you can tell when you're above the water line and you can tell how the atmosphere changes on the boat when you go below the water line. And I'm telling you right now, you go below the water line and the creepiness sets in on that boat.
Yeah, it really does.
It's scary. It's scary.
It's almost as if it's like some sort of refrigerator for the ghosts or something, like they can't go through water or something. It's like weird. But it does, claustrophobic too.
Claustrophobic, dank, humid, funky. It's a wrong place to be, and I'm serious.
Or the right place if you like that sort of thing.
Now we're up against a break, so let's talk about the new X-Files.
Okay.
And we'll set this up. Are you involved?
Well. You know, the thing during the regular 10 seasons is that we would get a call maybe 5 days in advance, 4 days in advance, and they said, come to set, and we'd be handed a script, and that would pretty much be how much warning we had. So we imagine that this is going to be the case again. So we will be the last to know if we're doing it.
Oh, you left this wide open. Good. I'm going to drill you when we get back. Let's take a quick break. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, Dean Haglund is with us of the X-Files and UFOs. The truth is out there. We'll be back right after this short break. I'm going to find out what's going on with these 6 episodes of X-Files Part 2. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Dean Haglund after this short break. Stay with us.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent Talk.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit FNGinnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's FNGinnovations.com.
Now you can find all your favorite talk radio shows live, all in one place at TalkStreamLive.com. Listen from anywhere, office, home, or in your car. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com and click on one of the many live talk show hosts you want to listen to. It's free and easy. No computer? Download the smartphone apps. Never miss your favorite talk show. Find them all at TalkStreamLive.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network. KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dean Haglund is with us live from downtown L.A. Hey, Dean, the next time we get you on, you've got to come in live in the studio.
Yeah, I would love that. We need some planning to get all the way out there, but absolutely.
We'll send a car.
Wow, you fancy.
We'll send a car. All right. Now, let's talk about it. Have you talked to Chris about X-Files Part 2?
No, I haven't. He's been really busy, and I would prefer to wait to hear as opposed to are we in it, because I know they even haven't hired all the writers yet. So it would be a little premature to go, hey, are we doing this? And then they not even having the whole thing structured out yet. So
you don't think all 6 episodes are written or at least storyboarded?
I think maybe they are outlined at best to sort of cap it, but I don't think they're written yet. Even though they plan to start shooting fairly soon, they probably are going to write as they go, just to make sure that, as they did on the show, they could sort of pick up on the energy of from the last one to the next one.
What do you know? Are they going to shoot in Vancouver?
Yes, they're shooting in Vancouver. If you follow William B. Davis, the cigarette smoking man, his Twitter feed, he seems to be giving up a lot of information about the show. So he's in it. Mitch Pileggi, who played Agent Skinner, he's doing all 6 apparently. Shot in Vancouver. David Gillian, Chris Carter's in. I don't know if Frank Spotnitz, I haven't seen he say anything about it. So he's in London working on a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure if he's going to relocate for this or not. And then, of course, Vince is busy with Better Call Saul.
Right.
So I know they're bringing in new writers, and I imagine that they're figuring that out right now.
When does principal photography kick off?
Supposedly June, but I imagine it will be July-ish when that finally goes.
Have you had a wardrobe person come by and measure you?
No, as I said.
Any indication at all? I mean, you're looking for something.
Yeah, no, I even emailed the other 2 guys, Tom and Bruce. And Bruce, of course, lives in Vancouver, so you would think if there is a wardrobe person out there measuring somebody, they would go to him first. But no, there hasn't been any indication, which, again, is not outside the par for course for the gunmen. We were always really flexible and easy to deal with, so there was no advanced worry when it came to getting us on the show.
Have you signed an NDA?
I have not signed an NDA. And in fact, I have, there's the YouTube video of me at Comic-Con pressing Chris Carter on making him admit that the IDW Season 10 comic book was part of the official canon. And they're putting that now as an indicator that I knew something, that the 6 episodes were coming, but that is not the case.
You're dancing right now. You're dancing.
I'm not. I swear I don't know. If I did know, you would be the first I would tell, because this would be an awesome way to like announce to everybody. But the gunmen are alive in the IDW comic book, and that's official canon of X-Files. So technically, all gates are open for us to be on the 6th.
Well, yeah, there's that aspect, but also, how can they not have you? That's the thing.
Well, I would think that the comic book showed us off to be hiding under the Arlington Cemetery in a basement conspiracy lair for the last 20 years. I would think it would be kind of easy to go, yeah, those guys, they're just in a basement. They'll refuse to come out. So it would be easy to mention us and not actually have us on the show. But at the same time, it would be a travesty to go back and visit everything and not have us show up.
Do you think that there is a tremendous amount of secrecy around this? There's been enough leaking of, that this is, the details had to get worked out for schedules between, Duchovny and, everybody else is working on different projects. Certainly the leaking of this did come out over the last 6 months. That part of it they haven't, kept secret. But do you think right now it's just completely tightly under wraps?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is this like a Star Wars script? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Even the first X-Files movie, the Fight the Future, they you got only your lines. You got it on red paper, so you couldn't photocopy it. Mm-hmm. It had your name stamped on every page. Plus, there was apparently a secret watermark so that they could tightly controlled the entire script, and yet it still showed up in the National Enquirer the week we were shooting. So, you try to keep your secrecy, but it's hard to do.
You want to take some phone calls?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do this. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. We run on a 20-second delay, Dean. So we'll wait for those phone calls to start flooding in.
Is that for my sake or for the people on the phone?
Yeah, it's a little combination of both. Okay. I do have the dump button right here just in case.
I see.
323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14 Dean Haglund. And here we go. There's the 20-second delay. And let's go to our first caller, and let me click here. Okay. Say hi to Dean Haglund.
Hello, Jimmy. Hello, Dean. This is Dino.
Hey, Dino.
Hi. I now you've been asking very good questions, Jimmy, but I wanted to draw a parallel and ask you, Dean. I know you're an actor, but your show, The X-Files, which I was a big fan of, was very similar to Miami Vice and what you talked about a while ago, that a lot of times the plots, like we'd watch Miami Vice and we would see some guy from Colombia bringing in drugs on a boat and there was some twist. And the week after I'd watch Miami Vice, you'd see it in the news. And you remember? I mean, there were several...
Yeah. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm watching Miami Vice now in reruns on El Rey Network. And it seemed to be very progressive, ahead of its time in terms of the drug dealing going on.
Well, that leads to my question.
Okay, Dino, make it quick. I've got calls backed up.
That's right. Well, that's why I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's what I'm trying to say is, with all this going on and the fact that you have been around, I know you talked about ghosts, but can you tell me, did you feel any need since the X-Files to look into a lot of these things that are probably going on? Do you have any need? I mean, I know you're an actor and you got to be changed with the times, but don't you have any real concern that some of those things are true on X-Files?
Well, absolutely. And that was the documentary that we did, The Truth Is Out There, was to sort of explore that and have, I only have a limited amount of time. So people who have devoted their lives to this research, I wanted to give them a voice in our documentary to allow them to say the truth and the reality for them behind a lot of these things that were talked about in the X-Files. So, yeah, I hope you check out our documentary, Dino.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Thank you for the call, Dino. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Dean Haglund.
Hey, Dean. This is Lenny, or Leonard.
Oh, hi,
You
Leonard.
probably know me on Facebook as Dudge.
Yes.
Dudge.
Dudge. Yeah, it's all backwards.
I
Anyways,
know who Leonard is, but we'll talk about that later, Leonard. You have a question for Dean?
Yeah, I do, actually. I was wondering, well, first off, huge fan of the X-Files.
Thank you.
Really, really love the show.
Awesome.
And especially you and, I can't remember his name, but your buddy on the show.
Bruce Harwood, Tom Braidwood?
Yes. Thank you. You guys kill it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. My question is, were there any like paranormal activities? I know you said you never saw any UFOs or anything, but were there any stories on the set of X-Files that had any sort of paranormal anything going on?
Well, not on the set, but definitely afterwards. As I went to comedy clubs, there would always be, guys coming up to me afterwards, and particularly in the military. It was just after the first Gulf War, and a lot of people coming back with Gulf War syndrome and stuff like that would tell me some pretty incredible tales, not just of what happened over there, but coming back here and working down in the bases down in Panama at the School of the Americas alumni. There seemed to be a lot of activity just after the first Gulf War in extraterrestrial or experimental crafts of some sort.
Interesting. I've actually been to the School of the Americas. I lived down there.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. I lived in Panama, and School of the Americas was at Fort Clayton.
Right.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
You have time for a quick UFO story from that area?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Go ahead.
So this guy, his knees turned to butter from whatever the Gulf War syndrome was. And so his detail was just to be a guard at the 2 hangars at the School of America, which was the easy, tropical gig for U.S. military personnel.
Yes, it is.
And one morning, 4 a.m., one of the other guys patrolling the beach said a American submarine has surfaced and they're having a barbecue on the beach, and it's a restricted area. So he drives out. What are you doing? We're having a barbecue. Why now? Because we're hungry. Just stonewalling like that. And then all of a sudden at the front, there's the one road in. At the gate, he gets a call. There's a car with 3-star generals, 3 of them in this car wanting to come in. And it's now 4 a.m. It's like, what the? So he goes over there. What are you guys doing here? We can't tell you. We're not allowed to let you in. We have to follow you. You can't do that. And one of the generals gives him a number, says, call this number. And he recognizes the exchange as the Pentagon. So he says, okay, fine, go in. And just as they drive up, a helicopter lands on one of the hangars. They see a guy run out of the helicopter holding something about 3.5 feet long in a cloth. He runs in through the roof stairwell. Everybody's left outside. Then everybody runs out back into the car, and they drive to the beach, at which point the guys kick over the barbecue and go out into the submarine, and the submarine dives, and they track it, and it goes through the Panama Canal and comes up the Sea of Cortez. And all of these guys discuss it, and the best they can come up with is that that was an injured alien ET, and that they were taking it to Area 51 to save its life.
There was a submarine base there. Can't remember the name. Rodman, and the nuclear subs were parked right there. I could walk out to the side of my house and look across the canal there and see them.
See them all just sitting there?
Yeah, and so once in a while I would see them cruising in and out of the canal. So yes, there were submarines down there constantly.
Oh, right.
I'm just wondering what beach they would have been at, but because I frequented them all. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Dean Haglund. Who's calling?
Hi, Dean. This is Bear in Santa Clara.
Hey,
and my question is did they deliberately sabotage the X-Files when they changed out the 2 main actors, Dave and Dana,
and Jillian.
I can't remember.
Yeah, Jillian Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they switched them out, was that purposely to sabotage the program to lower the ratings?
No, I take it you weren't a big fan then of Annabeth Gish and Robert Patrick.
No, I think it really took a tailspin when they started switching them out because
that went through
those two had a chemistry that just made it work.
Yeah,
and when they switched them out,
how rare it is to have that kind of chemistry. The audition process for that role was extensive, and people they looked at included Ben Stiller, Kyle Secor from Homicide: Life in the Streets. They looked at the guy from Army of Darkness. Why can't I remember his name?
Oh, yeah. Well, wasn't that the guy we were talking about that earlier today? He was in that movie Out There with Rod Steiger.
Yeah. Why can't I remember his name?
Yeah.
that guy.
Man, we should both be shot.
Yeah. I know. Anyway, so
me too. So the three of us, I guess.
Yeah, nobody's gonna remember his name. Poor guy. Yeah. Confessions. Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce Campbell.
Yes, Bruce Campbell.
Thank you. Gosh, they looked at Bruce.
B-movie king.
Exactly. So they had a wide range of actors auditioning for this part, and a lot of the females came in, and they were like trying to mix and match and figure out also the tone, like the tone of the show. So they weren't deliberately sabotaging it. They were trying to take it to a new direction. But originally, Chris Carter just wanted to do 5 seasons and then do movies. But Fox said, no, you have to keep doing the show because we own it. So it became harder and harder each season to continually outdo themselves from the previous season.
That's a great call. Thank you, Bear.
And by the way, I like the Lone Gunmen
thank you very much.
Roll off on that too.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Thank
you. I like that little part you played in there. It's like the Mulder's little secret undercover little snoop.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yeah,
that was great. It gave the show the character, and then the chemistry of the show. I think just really when Mulder and Scully kind of went separate ways, and other people came in. It took a wrong turn, and it just like. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, it's just this is how hard it is to do film and television. Casting is everything, and chemistry. You can see it; it jumps off the screen, and when you don't have it, it's you cannot fake that sort of thing. So it's when lightning strikes, we should all celebrate.
Thank you, Bear.
You're welcome. Oh, and when lightning strikes, you can also throw your ham radio right out the rear window of your car, too, even when it's permanently mounted.
That's right.
I've seen it happen.
Thank you, Bear.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, be well, be safe, and be cautious.
You got it. Thank you, Bear. Tell me the truth, Dean. Did Jillian and Duchovny, did they have a little something?
Well, they admitted to it at Comic-Con in the first season. That a little something happened. But, after you start working with the same people day in, day out, 16-hour days, long, hard days, it becomes family. And it becomes, like family. You're going to have spats. You're going to be close. You are going to go through a whole range of emotions over the 10 years. So yeah, by their own admission, there was in the first season something going on, but that quickly subsided.
Did you have a favorite episode, by the way?
Yeah, I always loved that one, the freaks in the southern Florida town, the circus freaks.
Oh yeah.
Which was Jim Rose's Magic Freak Show Circus, right?
Right.
That was such a fantastic show. And I saw them in Vancouver before they were famous, doing their show at a small bar in Gastown. And there was an act. I don't know. Do you remember seeing them? Because they would do all the festivals and stuff like that, right? They would do the pre-Coachella. What was that other music festival?
Perry Farrell's Lollapalooza.
Yeah. Lollapalooza. So they would do Lollapalooza all the time.
Right.
And there'd be the guy that could hang cinder blocks from his lips and, the nipples and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
But there was one guy, and I never saw him again. And I don't know if he stayed with Jim Rose, but he would stand on, get off stage, put a quarter in the pool table, and release the billiard balls, and then swallow 8 of them on stage, and then ask the audience to call out a number between 1 and 8.
Oh.
And then he would throw up that number.
Oh, man. Well, that's magic.
Was it magic, though? Because you could see it go down his throat, and he was using his abs to, like, control the ball. Like, I'm not sure if it was a magic act, because it looked like he was swallowing these things. And there were 8 of them. They're like, how, and he was in a T-shirt. So if he's palming it, if it was magic, it was the most amazing magic act. And if he's actually swallowing it and throwing up billiard balls, that's even more amazing.
When I was a kid, I went to the circus. I'm like 5 years old, and I go into the freak show with my brother Mike, and we go in, have no idea. We paid our quarter, 50 cents, whatever it was, and we go in. Right. And I'm not making this up. They had this guy there. He's a black guy. His name was Popeye. And he walks out on stage, and I'm standing. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm waiting for the sword swallower, or, elephant boy, whatever, This guy comes out, and he walks out of the stage, and he looks right at me, and he pops his eyes out.
Oh, no.
They popped out. They came out. He had muscle control.
Yeah, and the air pressure behind it. Right,
yeah. And they popped out, and he's looking at me, and I freaked. I ran, and I went right out of the tent, man.
Oh yeah, I bet you're traumatized.
I never forgot the guy. It's 45 years ago. I still remember his name, Popeye.
Well, how could you forget? Like, what else would you be called? Guy who needs glasses. I mean, it's like that. The popping of the eye. There's that other actress who could do that. She did like a Doritos commercial or something like that. But she had that same skill where the eyes could actually come outside of the orbs. It was just.
I went home. I worked on that for years. I couldn't make it happen. Really? Yeah, couldn't make it happen. Couldn't do it. I can do a few other things on my body though, but that's for another show. Hey, you said earlier, Dean. You said the feds came on the set and told you guys you got some of it right. What did you guys get right?
Well, they thought some of the procedural, but also some of the. Well, not on set, but they came to me at comedy clubs, and some of them thought the Area 51 and the UFO stuff, some of the hidden stuff, particularly the way Deep Throat was describing it, was accurate. So
what?
Yeah, they would say. So I don't know if they were pulling my leg, and it'd be like 1 or 2 of these guys that sort of like, oh yeah, no, I was investigating this and that's really. That was pretty accurate this episode, or that thing that in whatever episode. I can't think of the specifics right now.
I don't know if you know this, but I think you interviewed Deep Throat in The Truth Is Out There.
Oh, really?
Yep.
What, Roger Dean?
Yep.
You think Roger Dean was?
No, Bobby Dean.
Oh, Bobby Dean. Yeah. Sorry, not Roger Dean. Bobby Dean.
That's my suspicion. I don't have anything on authority. I have asked many people in the know, if he was, but there's something about Bob Dean, and I love that guy, and I'm jealous that you had the opportunity to sit down with him. But I think he's Deep Throat.
Well, he was FEMA coordinator from '76. Onwards for 10 years. And so he did have a lot of connections. So that's not outside the realm of possibility. But I thought that other guy came forward recently and said he was Deep Throat. He sort of admitted it in the news.
Yes.
But that seemed too pat, didn't it? That he went, oh, yeah, I'm Deep Throat. And everybody goes, oh, okay, problem solved.
Yeah, I think it's Bob Dean.
Well, it could be. He was quite an amazing interview, and it's one thing to watch it on YouTube and just see it, but if you go to our website, you can buy the 2-disc set, which has extended all the interviews in their entirety. And the one with Bob Dean is actually kind of remarkable because it goes into from the darkest of conspiracies to he was kind of a spiritual guy, and really sort of connects both the spiritual aspect and the cover up aspect in sort of almost one sentence, which is really amazing.
Who was your favorite interview when you look back?
Well, we often say like who, everybody had their own story and some were really fun and, but to me, the one who I would trust my dogs with, if I needed a dog sitter or something, would be Cynthia Crawford, who is the alien-human hybrid who made the sculptures of aliens from your dreams.
She was precious. Now,
she was precious, right?
I gotta stop you right there. When you stepped up, did you have any idea who she was?
None at all.
You didn't, did you?
Because that was my first meeting with her, right. And that was the first take. Yeah,
I could tell. I just had to hear that from you. Okay, now how? Because she went right there. She didn't play around.
She didn't play around. The first thing out of her mouth is the first thing you need to know about me is I'm an alien-human hybrid.
I'm a human hybrid.
Right.
What were you thinking?
I go, very good. This will be fascinating to talk to you then, because you would have information maybe just a plain human would not have.
And it almost could have gotten out of control.
Well, and this is sort of the crux of the documentary. We would get criticisms of why do you allow these wing nuts, and I put air quotes around that, the time of day to spout whatever the hell they're saying in your documentary. Are you taking this seriously or aren't you? And to us, it's, by cataloging people whose point of view or worldview you don't agree with or can't agree with or are dismissive of, then you're also losing valuable information they may have. You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And so by just allowing Cynthia to tell her story, she actually had a very fantastic message that, she has her story, but her message is universal. And if you can get past, which I hope, many people can, you will be enlightened and you don't have to put up a guard of, oh my God, alien-human hybrid, what a wingnut.
Have you seen her since you guys shot the documentary?
Yeah, we ran into her at another convention down in Long Beach a couple of years ago. And since the documentary, her work has taken off. She is really busy. She does a lot of envisioning work. So people are coming to her, and she's making a lot of sculptures that are helping people through all sorts of transitions, as she says.
She's a very talented artist too, as well. I mean, but she's real cool.
Yeah, she's really cool and knowledgeable too. I mean, from your Pleiadians to your Reticulans and your Greys, she has it all cataloged, and off the top of her head, she knows all of the different the submatter of alien that takes years of research normally.
Now I'm gonna force you. I'm having a good time, so I want you to hang on after the break. I want to ask you about a couple of other interviews. Can you hang with us for another 10 minutes?
Sure thing.
All right, Dean. Thank you so much. And when I come back, I've got to ask you about one of my heroes, Jordan Maxwell.
Yes.
And you two guys really hit it off. So I want to talk about that when we come back after the break. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dean Haglund, The X-Files. We'll be back right after this short break. Stay with us.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Attention, all Fader Knots. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dean Haglund is with us. Thank you, Dean, for hanging late, man. Thank you.
Hey, no problem, man.
Having
the Dobermans
fun?
are giving me a look, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about Jordan Maxwell for a second. He, with in our little family here, I mean, he's one of the guys that we hold up and we hold in such high regard.
Absolutely.
And you guys really hit it off. And he's always Mr. Serious guy. And with you, he it seemed like he dropped his guard down a little bit. Could you feel that? And
absolutely. And this is part of the thing that was great about the documentary is that when we came in, everybody has their guard up and they're like ready to tell their story. But then as the more we talk, then they realize, we get better interviews because more of their personality would come through.
Sure.
And Jordan and I actually had lunch a couple of times while I was on the X-Files. He was one of the first that I would, the writers knew him. And so introduced us as a great research person. And of course, his breadth of knowledge is incredible. And also, his connection to Hollywood is kind of neat. His first wife was secretary to John Factor, who was one of the lieutenants of Bugsy Siegel, and then came to Hollywood with his brother, who used to do the bodies for funerals. And so when he came to Hollywood, his brother said, well, what should I do? Well, you're good at makeup. Why don't you do makeup for the stars? And that brother was Max Factor.
Yep.
Isn't that a great story? So he
crazy.
knew Max Factor back in the day. So his knowledge is incredible. And he's always hinted that he's been working on something that he's going to release on video. And I have always maintained that I wanted to be the one to talk to him about it and to do it on camera, and we would shoot the whole thing. And he's agreed in principle, but finding the time and sitting down with him is always the trick.
And how do you, in talking to him, like I said, so candidly, and his breadth of knowledge is it's stupid, it's sick. I mean, how do you feel about the way that he comes across, though? In that, I mean, some of it gets a little bit far out, but yet he knows what he knows. So there's that aspect too.
Yeah, and he knows my stand-up comedy and stuff like that. So So he, as you said, he's joking with me and stuff like that. But then when we start getting into the seriousness of it, he also is lenient enough to allow me to throw in some gags here and there. And yet at the same time, that information so compelling. He's one of the ones that, will lay out information and then listen to the questions. So if you're listening to what he's saying, the questions that you ask are naturally flowing into where the next part of his thought process is going. So talking to him is actually, interviewing him is one of the easiest things in the world.
Now, I have to ask you about David Sereda.
Oh, yes.
Now, you guys are friends?
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool guy.
So cool.
Tell me about him.
Well, David and I go back. He was friends with Peter Ackroyd, of course, who is also big. Peter Ackroyd has a lot of classified UFO footage somehow. He's a collector of that stuff. And David and I lived in close proximity to each other for a while, so we'd often hang out and talk on stuff and work on a lot of projects. He did a lot of his own documentaries that he sells on his website. And so when we asked him, that was at the Laughlin UFO conference that we're talking, and we said, hey, Dave, can just come out and interview, and we'll just, because, well, what do you want to talk about? I go, what we always talk about. We have ideas and we go off on tangents and stuff like that. So when he's talking about, my favorite thing is like, oh, yeah, I want to have a faster than light ship that I could just escape all of this. And then I said, well, wouldn't the authorities have the same thing? He goes, oh, yeah, right, scratch that. so this idea of him just going, oh, yeah, that's a completely silly idea. Like there's a tangent that even he realizes is ridiculous and will pull back from. So, having that kind of flexibility and not taking himself that seriously, I think is one of really his greatest strengths as a researcher.
I watched From Here to Andromeda last night for maybe the third time.
Right.
And that documentary, the way that it starts off, I want to say this correctly. Its pacing was a little strange. I'll say that. That documentary is excellent.
Yeah,
it is frigging bleeping excellent.
Yeah, it's so informative.
If you get past, you got to get past that first 5 minutes, and it's just a strange setup for the documentary.
Yeah, he has artistic ideas, right? So.
Yeah.
So he's couching it in that sort of thing.
Right. Totally couching it.
Yeah.
But once you get past, that is an excellent documentary. Now, was that done before The Truth Is Out There? Which came first?
I think he was already working on that while he did that interview with us. But I know he finished it because he moved to Sedona for a while. He was out there. And I believe that's where he finished that documentary once he was there, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to think about that timeline again. But yeah, he had been working on that for a while and gathering a lot of that information. And, he even gave me a CD of The Sound of the Sun that was taken from a satellite that you play in. You put a pitcher of water in front of a speaker and you play the CD.
Right.
And then your water is infused with vitamin D.
Yes.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I remember that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've been doing that. And sure enough, I'm fairly fair-haired and light-skinned. I don't go out in the sun much. And yet when I go for my checkups, my vitamin D count's through the roof.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
It really does. It actually has an effect.
With one last question about The Truth Is Out There. Out of the entire cast of characters, now I've got my guy who I'm going to suggest. Out of the entire cast of characters, who is the strangest?
Wow, the strangest?
Yeah, there's one that stands out.
For you?
Well,
because
I think for you too.
Well, you know what? I'm not gonna say that because to me they were all...
you know what? Strangest is the wrong. Even though it is implying the right thing. You know, the one that was the most for you, you know, the most whack when you look back and you're thinking about that document. There's one conversation, one standout character is what I should say. Who is that for you in the movie?
Well, maybe Peter the harpist.
Yep, there you go.
Well, and that was interesting because we were filming other people, and he said, "You really need to talk to me." And this was exactly how we wanted our documentary to be, that as this journey continued around the world, that people would come to us. And so, you know, we said, "Oh, absolutely, you are correct. We really need to talk to you." And so he sat down and then told this incredible story of, you know, picking up the harp and having a ayahuasca experience and all of that sort of thing. And sure enough, that interconnects to so many other interviews that we had, that he sort of is the embodiment of a universal consciousness. As whacked and as out of place as it seems, he was so necessary for that documentary that we really appreciate him being a part of it.
And you know what? He's straight-faced.
He is impassioned about it.
Oh, man.
And his harp sale, his CDs apparently sell around the world very well.
I knew that I knew that you were going to pick Sterling out of the entire crew, and the reason for that, and I really mean this, his character and his emotion and everything else comes out so strong.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there now. He starts off with the conversation. And it's going, and it's getting more, what's the word I want to use? Fantastical? Is that the right word?
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yep, and you're right there, and you're going with it. And like I said, he's straight facing. He's right there.
And I don't think he was putting this on because
no, I don't think so either. No, I don't think anybody else would.
Yeah, and that to him also this was an improbable journey because he himself couldn't believe that this was happening to him, that he, you know, that somebody told him the harp is going to change the world, and he had no ability to play the harp, never even heard of it. And then a week later, somebody gives him a harp. And then from there, all of this, his world turns around. You know, he is both impassioned and also very surprised at the journey that his life has suddenly taken.
It's one of the best parts of the movie.
Oh, thank you.
One of the best parts, and I'm glad that you and I were on the same wavelength on that. Now,
absolutely, and we're doing a sequel to that documentary, by the way, because we have hundreds of hours of footage, and so now we're going to delve into, like Jordan Maxwell has, a longer timeline of these conspiracies. So we're going to go farther back in history, and you know, not quite Ancient Aliens, Breathless Wonder, but in terms of you know, like, you know, a lot of people think the government conspiracies are only in the last 50 or 70 years, but we have, you know, some evidence, and a lot of the interviews seem to indicate that it's much, much longer, you know, hundreds of years and thousands of years in the making.
Are you going to go back and revisit some of the cast from the from part one?
We think so, yeah, and there's going to be new ones as well. And yeah, some of that we have already, that footage that just, you know, could not be included in the present documentary. So we're going to use a lot of that footage and add new footage when we start shooting next month.
When are you going to look to release this? So this is exciting news. You didn't tell me about this. This is
yeah,
great.
I know. I'm glad I saved it for the end. Well, it's probably going to be, we think maybe a year and a half. Our investors have lined up. So we have our money in place. It's now scheduling. And some of it was going to take us back to the Middle East, but we're just waiting for little holes in the conflict in order to go there safely and have it before a lot of it's torn asunder.
I had said at the very onset of our conversation tonight, you know, you have, you know, you didn't volunteer for this, but, you know, you're like the UFO guy now. And as you go... As you go out and you go to these conventions and now your email is there and Comic-Con and everything else, do you have people coming up to you talking about them being contactees and they need to talk to you and they've seen this and you know, because you're that guy?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them just need to have someone hear that story and not do anything about it and not be, ridiculed or feel ashamed about it or anything like that. So yeah, a lot of people come up and do tell me those stories. And, there's a lot of similarities to these stories. And as Dr. Roger Lear said, 45,000 people have an abductee story that is remarkably similar. And to think that is collusion amongst 45,000 people is impossible. So there must be something else going on.
Do you find a common thread now that you've done all of these interviews, you've got the documentary and you've been doing this for a while? Do you find a common thread to these events? And when somebody tells you a story, can you connect a common thread between everybody else?
A common thread in terms of events and
there's always certain things that pop off, and that somebody there's certain things that only because you have interviewed so many people and have had so many different conversations.
Right. There's lapses in memory. There's weird night dreams. There's certain personal aspects that reverberate afterwards. There's these echoes that after whatever experience they have sort of keep coming up in their personal life. So, yeah, that you could sort of see. Also, there's other theories now, too, that I really like. For instance, there's a lot of sightings down in Mexico and Central America. And the belief is that because of our free trade agreement, we're now, these are things that are being manufactured in top secret bases. So they're actually our very own military vehicles, but it's cheaper to build them down there. So that's why there's more sightings, because they're testing them down there. So,
what makes you do this? Is there something? Is it some deep? Is it something deep? I want to.
It's a joy. You know what? It's really fun, and it's allowed me to travel the world and meet a whole bunch of people, talk to people like you. It's been just a rewarding experience to go through life with open arms and say yes to everything and see where it takes you. And it's taken me on an amazing journey that still continues.
Is it something that you need to have fed? Is it something inside you that causes this is it a need? Is it something deep-seated or
no?
Or are you going with the flow?
I think it's more of going with the flow, a bubbly joy of sailing down a river that, however the current takes me. I just as easily could have been on a show about NASCAR and races, and I would have been the spokesman down at Indy 500, So it's just the way the cards that are dealt and how fate flies its merry kite.
So what are you doing next? And let's start to end there. What are you doing next? What's on the horizon?
Well, as I said, the sequel to the Truth Is Out There is in the works. So we're going to be shooting that. I was just in a movie called The Lady Killers, which will be having its investor screening next week, and then we'll be taking it to the festivals over the next 6 months, and should be. Based on how that goes, we'll see it in theaters maybe next year. What else? There's a ton of web series that I've been asked to do.
How now? I know that you did Chill Pack last week. Do you do it every Monday?
Yes, every Monday we record a show. Sometimes the odd pre-recorded show gets in there when we're traveling about. But yeah, every Monday we record a Chill Pack Hollywood Hour. And so have a listen at Chill Pack, spelled CHILLPAK, Hollywood.com. And you can have a listen to our newest show. It's been free for 8 solid years now.
I love it. And I'm telling you, all of the Fadernauts out there right now, you've got to check out the Chill Pack Hollywood Hour. You just go, it's free, it's right there, boom, click onto the website, starts playing automatically. What more do you want, right?
Absolutely, exactly.
So, and what about Comic-Con? Are you still doing those?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be doing June 20th. I'll be in Sydney, Australia. June 27th, I'll be in Perth, Australia. And then I'll be in Connecticut July 8th at Connecticon. And then in Wellington, New Zealand, July 17th, followed by International Improv Comedy Festival in Melbourne, July 27th.
Why Australia?
Well, I mean,
we love Australia, but man, that's like a tour.
I know. Well, I think I may be moving there in the next little while for a couple years because my better half has a contract there for 2 years. So we're going to be living down there. And I'm going to be touring the world still. So I'll be, but just based out of Sydney because their flights are cheaper too.
Yeah, right. I got to get you back on, and the next time I would love to have you live in the studio here. And
absolutely,
again, I want to.
And I'm going to bring my flame guitar.
You like that, didn't you?
I do like that. I'm dying to hear an album of the foam decoys now. Did you record anything? Did you go into the booth?
Actually, I have 3 songs floating around. You know, that was 1988, but there was a 3-song EP that was cut that I have around here somewhere. And one of the big hits off of that thing was called "Don't Pay to Play."
Which was all the deal.
Yeah, which was all the deal. All the deal. And we did a remake called Action Strasse. That was a big hit song about a street called Action Street.
In German.
Yep.
Action Strasse. I love it.
Strasse.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, Dean, I had a great time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the best. You got it. Thank you, Dean.
Bye now.
Dean Haglund, everybody. Thank you, Dean. Wow, what a night here on Fade to Black. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back to wrap things up in just a short bit. And let me do this. Let's go back to here. There we go. I got it. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. Thank you, Dean Haglund. That was absolutely amazing. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Alternative Talk, KGRA.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. May arrives soon, and with it comes another Contact in the Desert. So join me in Joshua Tree, California, for the 3rd annual Contact in the Desert Conference, being held May 29th through the 31st. 2015 brings another awesome lineup of speakers, including publisher of Legendary Times, Giorgio Tsoukalos, New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, journalist and conspiracy expert Jim Mars, former head of UFO Project for the MOD Nick Pope, investigative reporter Linda Moulton Howe, author and contactee Travis Walton, UFO historian Richard Dolan, and many more. You don't want to miss this. Fade to Black and KGRA will be there broadcasting live May 29th. Just visit contactinthedesert.com for tickets and information. That's contactinthedesert.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Yeah, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I got to thank Dean Haglund one more time. I also want to give a big shout out to RW. Thank you, brother. And you know what I'm talking about. All right, now I want to set up a couple of things for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is Fader night, and for all of you new listeners right now that are listening to the show for the first time. That's exactly what the show is about, what you just listened to. Thank you, Dean Haglund. It's a long-form conversation show. Tomorrow night is Fader night. It is open lines all night long. We'll be taking your phone calls all night. I want to set up tomorrow night a couple of things really quick. I want everybody to think about this overnight. I got a bunch of email this week about time travel. And another time travel show. When are we going to? I don't know why it comes in floods like it does, but this week I got a bunch of email about time travel. So I want to talk about that tomorrow night. I want your time travel stories. Is there any time travelers out there? Anybody out there travel? I want to take those phone calls tomorrow night. Also, I want everybody to think about this overnight. The best UFO incident that needs to be made into a movie that hasn't been done yet. What is the one event? So I want that tomorrow night. So I want everybody to think about that. Don't tweet it in right now. I want it for tomorrow night. Okay? Next, one of the things that stirred the most emails and responses from everybody out there was sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis. We all know my story. I've told it, a few times here on the show. I want to know if you have experienced sleep paralysis. We know my story. I want to know yours tomorrow night. So that's setting the stage. And that's what I would like to talk to tomorrow night on Fade to Black. The best UFO incident that needs to be made into a movie. 2, time travel. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. And sleep paralysis. Okay? Have you experienced it? You know my story. Is it similar to I want to hear yours. And that's what we're going to set up with tomorrow night. Okay? So that is Fade to Black. Oh, by the way, I just want to say, I love you, Fadernauts. When I brought up Bruce Campbell and couldn't remember his name and Dean, and we stumbled to watch Twitter light up like that so quickly, everybody remembers Bruce Campbell. Now, his movie with Rod Steiger that I love is called Out There. And I think we're going to try to dig that up, and we'll do that for Fader Cinema this Saturday. Okay, so, but everybody, I ignored it. I didn't ignore it. I didn't get a chance. I was talking to Dean. But I watched Bruce Campbell fly by so fast. And I'm just glad that everybody out there remembers and appreciates Bruce Campbell as much as I do. So there you go. All right, so that's it for tomorrow night. The best UFO incident that needs to be made into a movie, time travel, and sleep paralysis. And, of course, all the other breaking news that'll be happening between now and then. Thank you, Dean Haglund. Absolutely extraordinary show. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar. breaking tail, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is the one and only Method of Signaling. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication, KGRA The Planets. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Thank you, Dean Haglund. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want everybody to be safe. See ya.